Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko, episode 3, Banquet of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream, I really appreciate it. Hello everyone. Hey Hakaze, hey Comfy Dreams, good to see you, thank you so much for coming by. So in the last stream, a lot of stuff happened. They discovered Rosa and Maria's bodies, and then Rudolph, Kyrie, and Hideyoshi went back to the mansion to get some food, but Kyrie and Rudolph got into a fight with two of the Seven Sisters, the Belphegor and Leviathan. They were able to beat them. Ava Beatrice wasn't very happy with that and summoned her own new furniture. So we got to see two new characters, Chester 45 and 410, and they killed Kyrie and Rudolph. While Ava Beatrice was playing with their dead bodies, Hideyoshi came and tried to reprimand her, and she killed him too. Back at the guest house, the cousins were feeling kind of down about the whole situation, and Beatrice just got yelled at by Badler for being insensitive, and he didn't really want to be her opponent anymore. So she came to the guest house and overheard George saying that he wanted to see Shannon again. So she decided to spirit him away and let him see Shannon again one last time as kind of like a way of understanding the human condition. But she kind of had to sneak him out of the guest house past Ava Beatrice, who is now planning to kill Kraus and Natsui as her next couple sacrifices. So we're getting close to the end of episode 3. There's not very many people left alive right now. So we'll see. We should be able to finish episode 3 today. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get to finishing the tea party, the epilogue afterwards, but we'll see how we're doing for time. Okay, let's get going. The guest house lobby was wrapped in silence. The strings of tension binding Kraus, Natsui, and Ava had already loosened, and they were completely worn out, with their minds beginning to waver. Every once in a while they would stand up and walk around pointlessly, as though fighting their drowsiness. Are you okay, Eva-sama? Please do take it easy and rest. I told you I'm fine. The three of us are now the only adults. There's no time to rest. No matter what the cost, we must guard this place until the end. Huh. She spoke bravely, but she couldn't hide her rough breathing. It seemed that the fever, which had been calmed with medicine for a short time, had returned. It was very obvious that Ava's health was not good. Take it easy. At least close your eyes. If something happens that you need to be awake for, we will definitely wake you. I'm telling you, I'm fine. Leave me alone. It seemed she was already unwilling to budge. Kraus and Natsui realized that even if they talked to her any more when she was like this, it wouldn't reach her ears. So without saying anything more, they decided to let her be. To Ava right now, even having an argument like that would be burdensome. It would probably be better for her body if she just sat there with her mouth closed. In truth, Ava was just a step away from being beaten down by drowsiness. Perhaps she shot back at them with a temper because she was trying to rouse herself and throw off her sleepiness. The clock would be pointing to 6 o'clock in the afternoon very soon. She'd had several snacks to distract herself from her drowsiness, so she didn't feel hungry. But now her lack of sleep made it feel like it was 6 o'clock in the morning, not the afternoon. Even supposing that the boat came at precisely 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, they still had more than 12 full hours to go. It was an overwhelmingly long stretch of time. Long. Painful. Hot. Even the sound of the clock torments my body now. In times like this, when that person puts his hand on my forehead, that fever fades at once. But that person no longer exists. As Ava's mind grew foggy, she was once again gripped by a deep sadness. She had already cried herself dry. Even so, the sadness of losing her beloved husband had not been exhausted. I was wrong. What do you mean? The new witch and Ava were fundamentally the same being. If Ava talked to her, she would always respond. I thought that if I could gain the position of the Ushimiya family head, that alone would be enough. But then, as soon as I saw that mountain of gold, my greed grew. I was struck by desire to have that mountain all to myself. That's nothing to be ashamed of. After all, it's your natural right as the Ushimiya family head. How could you give up even a bit of it to anyone else? I was gripped by that temptation, which is why you were born. While you are a young girl version of me, at the same time you're also my self-centered evil heart. Because of my foolish greed sprouted by that mountain of gold, the shell of that egg, That is my heart cracked and you are born to this world. I am responsible for your birth. In that case, when I killed Rosa and Maria, and then Rudolph, Kiria, and Hideyoshi, you were responsible for that too. Why did you kill my husband too? Why? I didn't want to kill Hideyoshi. He was just so annoying and persistent. And that's your fault. It's your fault for choosing a husband like that. A child like you cannot understand what made that man so wonderful. Oh, dear. What the heck? Our dreams were made real with magic, right? We solved the riddle of the epitaph. Then we found the gold and got the head's ring. All our dreams came fully true, right? What more could you want? Hey, Psycho Reaper, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Those weren't all my dreams. What about living a wonderful life with that person and giving George an excellent life? I still have many dreams that haven't come true, as a wife, as a mother. And yet, those are just extra dreams you added after becoming an adult. They aren't my dreams. That's because you're a child. You only care about what's best for yourself? That's right, everything is my fault. Back then, why did I resist doing what Rosa told me to? Why couldn't I just announce to all the siblings that I found the gold? It's all because I'm so hideous. My evil heart, which sprouted from my desire to have all that gold for myself, caused you to hatch. Looks like you really hate me, even though we're both Ushimiya Eva. No, that isn't true anymore, and it was you who said it. I am Ushimiya Eva, and you are the Golden Witch Beatrice. So just disappear. Witches are imaginary illusions that only exist in fairy tales. Things like you should just disappear. Never appear in front of me again. Yeah, you're right. I understand. I'll disappear from in front of you. And I am no longer Ushimiya Eva. From now on, I am the Golden Witch Beatrice. So now I can play however I want. I don't even care about you. If only you just give up and die. After having a very childlike tantrum, the witch who had once been another Eva vanished. Only Eva was left behind in the darkness, and she questioned herself. Me? I killed them. Did I kill that person? Did I kill him? She could no longer answer that question herself. It seemed that half asleep, she had gotten some saliva caught in her windpipe, just as she was dozing off. Eva suddenly started coughing. Are you okay, Eva? Please, Natsui, some water. Yes. I'm fine, okay? I just choked a bit. Eva pushed away Natsui's hand as she tried to rub her back, and unsteadily rose to her feet. I'm going to wash my face. Sorry I fell asleep. When I get back, I'll make more coffee. Extra strong so I won't get drowsy until tomorrow morning. Yes, please do. Your coffee's more to my taste than what Goda makes. I'm glad to hear it, even if it's flattery. I'll be back soon. Eva exited the lobby, heading for the bathroom. Kraus and Natsui watched over her frail back. So you sometimes do show concern for Eva-san, even though you've always been so much at odds with her. Isn't this how an older brother is supposed to be? Yes, I believe you're right. It isn't just Eva. There's Rudolph and Rosa too. Instead of acting like an older brother to them, all I ever did was speak arrogantly and bully them. In my own way, I was frantic in my desire to be like father, but I could never match up, and I always vented my feelings on them. But that is no excuse. I probably gave Eva scars so deep that they still have not healed. I regret it, but even if I apologized after all this time, it would do nothing to heal those wounds. That's some unexpected introspection from you, Kraus, but I mean, apologizing wouldn't hurt. If you can hold on to that feeling instead of only letting it last for this moment, I'm sure your siblings will come to see it sooner or later. Though by now, Ava is the only sibling I have left. If only you and your siblings hadn't been born into the Ushimiya family. You might have had more normal, a more fun sibling relationship. You mustn't say that. Ava will probably continue to hate me for her whole life, and she has a right to. I intend to resign myself to that fact and accept it. Dear. Ava, I'm sorry. Of course you don't have to forgive me. Of course I won't forgive you. What are you talking about after all this time? Oh, so now you're feeling guilty. If only you just give up and die right now. Do it, Chester sisters. "45, firing permission received. Reconfirming firing arc, correcting for weapon discrepancies. Data link to 410. 410, data received, firing permission confirmed. Firing! Together the sisters released the magical bowstring they had readied. A beautiful tail trailed behind the gold arrow and drew a lovely curve as it flew. It was just like a gold snake. It skillfully avoided a grove of trees and flew towards the front door of the guest house. Then it flew into the keyhole of the door and snuck into the guest house without any problem at all. The gold snake raced down the hall smoothly, yet as fast as an arrow. Right before it was the door to the lobby. When it flew into the keyhole, Kraus and Natsui were already. For an instant, Kraus thought he saw a gold-colored sparkle in the keyhole in the door. However, at the same time as he strained his eyes to see what it was, that sparkle bent like a whip and attacked, wrapping itself around Kraus's neck. Just looking at it, the gold snake seemed very supple. However, it was as though a wire had tightened around Kraus's neck. While that snake choked Kraus, it extended even more and also tightened around Natsui's neck. Without even a chance to scream, their eyes bulged as they went into convulsions and then collapsed. 45. Hit and kill confirmed. Formulating towing curve. Revising capture points. Data link to 410. 410 data received. Initiating corpse towing. We got both of them, yeah. The gold snake began to drag Kraus and Natsui's bodies back. They slipped through the door to the corridor, dragging the bodies, gradually increasing in speed, and rapidly pulled them outside the guest house. I'm guessing they opened the doors. There's no way they pulled them through the keyhole. So the lobby was silent, as though nothing had happened. As though Kraus and Natsui had not been there since the beginning. Only the sound of the wind and the rain remained, as if they were playing dumb and pretending to be the only ones there. Sorry, I'm fine now. I'll go make some coffee. Ava returned from the bathroom, but no one was in the lobby. Even though they had supposedly been in that sofa until the moment she had choked and gone to the bathroom, they were gone, as if they'd been an illusion from the very beginning. How careless of them! Where did those two go off to together? Ava put her hand on the sofa as though acting out a scene from a detective novel. She felt a warmth that meant that they'd been sitting there until a short while ago. Maybe they went to do rounds or something. For the time being, Ava sat down and waited for their return. Vito and George could be seen in the parlor of the mansion. George was kneeling over Shannon's body as though praying. His face was serious, and there was even a sweat on his forehead. However, Vito was the same. Now that she had handed her name over, most of her previous power had been lost. Of course, she still had more than enough power to be called a witch, but compared to the past, it was a very faint thing. Good. Don't talk to her, don't touch her with your hand. Call to her with the voice of your heart, and seek her with the hand of your heart. Only your strong feelings can make my magic reach Shannon's lost soul. George kept praying earnestly and silently. He kept frantically yelling inside his heart, trying to call back the soul of the person he loved. He strongly envisioned his soul leaving his body and searching for her as she wandered through the land of the dead. Bito turned that strong force into a magical power that supplemented her own magic. This was magic that, in the past, she could have performed easily without anyone's help. But now, if she didn't rely on someone's assistance, she wouldn't be able to finish the chant, much less succeed. I've forgotten for several centuries. Was magic, was resurrection, always this difficult? Bito was wearing an even more strained expression than George. It had slipped her mind, but originally the magic to revive a life was the ultimate hidden art. The abnormal thing was her previous magical power, which could be used over and over with a snap of her fingers. So the heavy burden on her body and mind was, fundamentally speaking, extremely natural. However, this man's power... Even though he doesn't know magic, it's nothing to be laughed at. I see. So he truly is Kinzo's grandchild. The strong energy pouring from George was large enough to act as magical power. At first, Bito thought it must be the blood of Kinzo, the sorcerer. However, that probably wasn't it. She had a feeling the battler had already told her what it was. It had been born from the power of George's sadness at the death of the person he loved, and from the way he had tried his hardest throughout his life, from the warm time spent together with Shannon, to the size of the dream they swore to protect in the future. Hey B. Chris, welcome to the stream, thanks for coming by. Is it really possible for humans to take life so seriously, even though they only have a single one? It was only natural. To her, a life didn't mean anything more than the difference between the top and bottom of a telepiece. If the black represented death, then she thought all you had to do was flip it over to make it white. However, it was just like that broken vase. The humans in a world without magic, where they cannot return things to their original form, it is very, very natural for them to bet their life and soul. So this is an endless witch who could do as she pleases even with life and death. Inferior to a limited human who can't even surpass the mountain of death. This time the witch acknowledged it. He was able to hold a magical power that could never reside in witches who didn't understand the value of a life. Why does this thing called the Endless Magic exist? Even though I call myself the Endless Witch, did I forget what the Endless Magic means for 1,000 years? She looked at George's expression again. His surging earnestness was like a lightning bolt. Right now, even if George's body had been burned or smashed by a waterfall, he would probably continue to pray for his beloved without minding it, without noticing it. For the first time, she showed respect for that power. So in that instant, all magical resistance was lost, and the enormous power of George's feelings turned into magical energy in its complete form. The vase was very beautiful, rich with history and value. Even as young as I was, it still forced me to take a deep breath when I witnessed this beauty. But that just made me want to touch it. But the vase easily fell and smashed into pieces, like a bubble that had popped. It felt as though the time it possessed a form had just been an illusion. Lives are just that fragile, just that easily lost. I realized that my foolish curiosity had led to something that couldn't be undone. No matter how much I regretted it, no matter how much I apologized, the smashed vase wouldn't return back to its original form. A lost life will not return to normal no matter what happens. I was frightened that even though my actions had been thoughtless and careless, they had stolen away a life that could never be revived again. Then, I pitied that lost life and cried. I was frightened of myself, the one responsible for its loss, and cried even more. I'm sure Grandfather will also cry at the loss of his precious vase. I'm sure that all the people who love Grandfather and see him like that will cry. With the loss of a single life, the whole world could be filled with so much sadness. I cried even more at how terrible that was. Beatrice appeared and spoke. Then, milady, let us revive that vase with magic. If that will make everyone happy, the vase and the magic and the spirits will happily lend you their power and return to its original form. Come, milady, close your eyes and chant with me. Come, try closing your eyes and try to remember. What form did you have? It was surely a very beautiful form. Please show me that form one more time. those words of power knocked forcefully on the door to the land of the dead. The magic of her old self had performed that same forceful knock. However, doing it that way was horribly violent, and earned the displeasure of the peacefully sleeping dead. But this time was different. It was very forceful and yet gentle and loving. The dead near the door opened their eyes, and called out to the others that there was a voice calling for someone to come back. The sadness of that voice calling from the outside touched the hearts of the dead, and trying to respond as quickly as possible, they searched for Shannon's lost soul. And then, they found it. They found the casket in which Shannon was peacefully sleeping. It truly was Shannon's soul sleeping in the land of the dead. Inside the casket that was covered with rose flowers, frozen with frost, she was sleeping in peace. The dead silently lifted that casket up. While at a glance it looked like a funeral march, it had the complete opposite meaning. It was solemn, but filled with joy. The long-forgotten dead was made to remember that they were loved after their deaths, and they were all given a warm sense of peace. Then, as though guided by a warm light from the heavens, Shannon's body floated up out of the casket. The dead watched her go. They squinted at that warm light, offering their respect to this unknown member of the living, who had not lost his love for a person even after their death. Shannon's body was enveloped in the light from the heavens and began to disappear. In the jet-black darkness of the land of the dead, the faint flickering of gold butterflies could be seen. It reminded them of the gentle stars in the night sky, which they had long forgotten. George remembered being told that he must not say anything, and he hurriedly covered his mouth. However, it felt like his heart was trying to jump into his throat, because he had seen Shannon's eyelids shake slightly. Then, those eyelids slowly opened. Shannon's eyes were there, but they were still wrapped in the fog of the land of the dead. However, the human world's warmth, no, her lover's warmth, which had called back her soul, slowly dissolved that fog, and her eyes gradually regained their sparkle. Then her eyes moved and recognized George. "George-san." And her lips shook weakly. Shannon definitely said that. The words were very faint, so much that they normally wouldn't have reached his ears. However, George clearly heard them. He heard the person he cared for, his fiancée, the one he loved most and who should have been dead, call his name once again. "Shannon! Shannon! Do you know who I am?" "George-san, is this a dream?" "No, this isn't a dream. Come on, see here. Even if I pinch you, you won't wake up." As George said that, he softly pinched Shannon's cheek. It was how George had always responded in the past, when Shannon had been surprised by something and asked if she was dreaming. When Shannon felt the warm touch of George's finger on her cheek, and when George realized that the warmth of the living had already returned to his beloved person's cheek, they both cried. What words should a pair of lovers separated by death celebrate with when they were reunited? The words of the human world are not enough. In short, they had no need of the words of this world. George simply hugged Shannon, who was sitting up without talking. Shannon's strength was still feeble, and putting her arms around George's back took all she had, so George hugged her very tightly to make up for that. To stop each other from going once more to a place the other's hand couldn't reach, they hugged each other so tightly, and yet so gently. As Shannon's fingers curled around George's back, on her ring finger, the engagement ring George had given her definitely shone. That strong glint certainly wasn't just the sparkle of diamond. There definitely was a magical power that only the two lovers could possibly feel. It was because that strong light existed they had been able to find her casket in the land of the dead. Bito understood. That ring, no. The feelings of the pair embodied in that ring were a miracle made real. In that moment, George definitely used magic. Bito had done nothing more than help him along. That magic had a power that could only reside in those who knew of the importance of life, who knew what it meant to try with all one's might. It was the power of a miracle, one that the Endless Witch couldn't possibly know of. A miracle that only the power of the finite could give rise to. By now she had no choice but to accept it. She had to accept that true magic, true magical power, exists in the place furthest away from she who called herself a great witch. Beatrice-sama. She brought you back to life. Thank you, Beatrice. No, I did nothing. What revived Shannon was your magical power. It was your magic. The Ushimiya blood which makes miracles come true surely saw you through. George-san, revive me. Indeed, it was an incredible display of magical power, one that I could not hope to compete with. So I am still nothing more than an apprentice. Now I finally know my place. Ito staggered backwards. Her physical strength was clearly exhausted. She had humbly said that George's power alone had revived Shannon, but Bito had also used all of her magical and physical strength. And she reflected upon how difficult it was to revive a single life, something she'd been able to play around with however she wanted to in the past. The couple kept on embracing each other tightly. By doing that, those feelings that couldn't be communicated with a billion words were shared. Thank you, Beatrice. We're in your debt. Thank you very much, Beatrice-sama. I'll never forget the debt I owe you for bringing me to George again. Hey Kit, good to see you. Thanks so much for dropping by. Hope you're doing well and having a good day. Hello, hello. Stop that, stop that. Being thanked by a pair of lovers is far too embarrassing for one who's been feared as a monster of a person. Don't worry about me. Celebrate your reunion together to the fullest. Bito, who was leaning with her back against the wall, slid down the wall and sat. Hey Hikaru, good to see you too. Thank you so much for coming by. Yeah, Kit. It's like, I think this is my favorite episode of the questions arc as well. I really like this one. It was a long time coming, but we finally got here. I can't wait to get to episode 5. How many centuries had it been since she last grew this tired from using magic? I probably haven't been this tired since the time I first succeeded in magic. Didn't teacher praise me that time? Oh, but didn't I kill that same teacher who praised me? Don't be so naive, Beatrice. Isn't that what killing means? Finally! It seems you finally remembered how to use magic. My head feels parched and suffocated, and I can't even remember. More importantly, didn't I kill you? You shouldn't be appearing. You are still allowing me to live even now. That is why I can appear like this. However, I did not come just to pat your head. Did you come to sneer at how pathetic I am? Anyway, if I have my head patted by a retired witch after all that's happened, the other witches will laugh at me. That's right. According to your bragging, you are not only a full adult, but a retired one. And yet, only now have you learned how to use magic. That certainly does sound too embarrassing to tell anyone. Yeah, tell me about it. Keep it a secret, okay, teacher? Bito gazed at the couple hugging each other with a sense of pleasant despondency. Love, is it? I'm no match. 45, data received. Firing preparations concluded. Ammo type selected and loaded. 410, firing. Nihi. The gold snake arrow fired by the Chesters weaved its way through the bushes in the rose garden, weaved its way through the hedges and climbed the stone steps towards the mansion's entrance, aiming for the keyhole. It weaved through the corridors and flew to the keyhole on the door to the parlor. Ah! It happened in an instant. One could hardly blame Bito, who was completely worn out, for not noticing it beforehand. Right before Bito's eyes, the gold snake flew in through the keyhole, surrounded the two lovers, and pierced the two hearts in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, the gold snake faithfully pierced a hole through Shannon's chest once more. The two hearts were pierced by that gold snake. No, by that gold sewing thread of the new brutal witch's furniture. and it had happened in an instant, mocking the amount of effort it had taken to revive Shannon. Before Bito's shocked eyes, the two fell over and landed on the floor. George! Shannon! Thank you, Beatrice, for letting us meet. Even just for a short while. Thank you. George spent his last breath thanking Bito and died alongside the one he loved. The gold snake, which still sewed the two in place, spun like a large cyclone revolving around the inside of the parlor. It was searching for further prey in that room. Then the tip of the snake met Bito's gaze. In that instant, Bito was prepared to die. At that moment, Virgilia stood in front of her, the fingers of both her hands drawing a seal. Instantly, gold-colored gold leaf buried the inside of the parlor. It was like a blizzard of gold. Bito, run while you can. No one can escape from the Chester's golden bow. Hey, Lork, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. 410, target lost. Yeah, it's magical chaff. 45, roger that. Modifying search algorithm. Switching to anti-personnel image-based tracking. Target lock reacquired. Data linked 410. 410, data received. Too slow, predecessor-sama. Coming. Impact. Prey targeted by the Chester Sisters' golden bow did not escape. It could not be blocked. No magical bear could even dream of blocking it without being multi-layered. The gap opened during that instant of confusion caused by Virgilia's deception magic was Bito's only chance to escape. And it was the only chance to make the sisters confuse Virgilia for Bito. As Virgilia spread her arms wide, blocking the way to her beloved disciple, the gold snake pierced straight through her heart. After sneaking in through the keyhole, the snake shot through George, Shannon, and then Virgilia in an instant, completely failing to notice Bito as she used that instant to escape. Hey, Tarlet Red Mage, welcome to the stream. As soon as Virgilia saw that Bito had gotten away, she died. The strength left her body, and like a gold dust drifting with the wind, her form was erased. Bito completely erased all traces of her magical power, became gold butterflies, and passed through the wall, escaping to the wind and rain outside. Damn it. Damn it. You bitch. You bitch! Bito felt regret from the bottom of her heart. Why? Because she had been attacked by the new witch? Probably not. Of course she hated losing her teacher. And even more importantly, Bito was enraged at the barbarism that boorishly stolen away the reunion between the two lovers. Bito had poured out almost all of her magical power to reunite them, even though the result had been a miracle. The time it took to steal that away had been so ridiculously short. Bito trembled at the barbarous cruelty that had brought about such an abrupt end. Besides, this was the true form of the acts she herself had committed up until that point. So just as strongly as Bito hated the new witch, she also looked at her previous self with disgust. But now she had to escape. If she was targeted next, she would probably lose her life. To think that a chess player had descended, thinking they were like a god, only to be attacked by the pieces. "45, impact confirmed, target scattered. Without a doubt, we crushed the predecessor-sama. Looks like our pile of kill medals is gonna get bigger again, yeah? What was that about loving couples? You get to enjoy tearing the two apart by death, reuniting them, then tearing them apart again, right? And along with that, I get to say goodbye to the damn fussy old hag. Ronov, you don't have any complaints, right?" "I do not, Beatrice-sama." "That person interfered with the ceremony of the witch's epitaph, you see. She revived a sacrifice from the first twilight, without permission, obstructing my ceremony. She's got no right at all to complain." "But it sucks that she didn't leave a corpse behind. And I thought I'd be able to torture that old hag to death over and over again, endlessly." George did. No, I didn't see him. Where did he come down? When you said? What hour was that again? I think it was probably around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. At the very least, it was more than an hour ago. We got sleepy and probably dozed off after that. But I think it's probably like Jessica says, about 1 or 2 hours ago. I also remember something from around that time. I was asked if I wanted more coffee. Something hard to believe had happened. Apparently, when Aunt Ava had left for a second to wash her hands, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui had disappeared. There's no way they went hiding somewhere. Of course, the doors and windows had all been rigorously checked, and all were locked from the inside. Not one of them was broken. And that wasn't just true for the first floor, the second floor was the same. Again, all the doors and windows had locks built in a way that made it impossible to lock them from the outside. In other words, there was no way that Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui had gone outside, and yet they couldn't be found. Furthermore, they weren't the only ones who had disappeared, so had George Aniki of all people. George Aniki had left saying he was going to go get more coffee, and had gone downstairs more than an hour earlier. We'd assumed that he was having a conversation with Aunt Ava and the rest, but Aunt Ava, who had been in the lobby the whole time, said no one had come down. Since all the doors and windows were locked from the inside, it was unthinkable that they had gone outside. However, 3 humans had evaporated from this barricaded guest house, which had become a perfect closed room. In a situation like this, we couldn't imagine that this was because they were playing hide and seek and trying to scare us with a prank. It was quite reasonable to assume that they'd been caught up in this crime. When Aunt Ava had learned that her only son was missing, she had gone insane, or half insane, running from one room to another yelling his name. And Jessica had suddenly lost both her parents, had chased after her. Cries of "George! George!" and "Mom! Dad!" had continued to echo through the guest house for some time. I think George said something about wanting to see Shannon's dead face. It would be reasonable to assume he snuck out of the guest house and went to the mansion. But I didn't have a clue about Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui. Did they see him leave and then go to the mansion to search for him? Without even telling Aunt Ava. At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we start planning to leave the guest house to go search for them. When that time comes, I'll agree. We thought staying holed up in the guest house would be safe, which was why our big happy group of 12 people locked themselves up here this morning. And yet now there's only 4 of us left. That means staying here is no guarantee of safety. However, there's one thing we can't afford to forget. All the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is a closed room. How did they manage to vanish from this place? We searched around thoroughly. However, we couldn't find any traces of someone hiding. The 3 of them had almost certainly been taken outside the guest house. I wonder how it was done. You don't think there might be something like a hidden door? A hidden door? The doors and the windows were built in a way that makes them impossible to lock from the outside. Even using a fish line, it would be impossible with the way they're constructed. So it may be reasonable to assume that they left via something other than a door or a window. You're right. That does make logical sense. No one can be sure that no hidden doors exist. However, before leaping to that conclusion, I suspect a much simpler possibility. And what would that be? For some time, Battler had been opening windows, opening shutters, and checking outside, repeating this for each window. This window's pretty quiet. I see. Unlike the other windows, because of how the building is shaped, the wind doesn't blow into this one. It appears that way. It feels strange that no wind or rain comes in, even though there's so much of it outside. Dr. Nanjo, when I opened the window just now, did you hear a sound? Huh? No, I did not notice it. I believe it is well oiled. In other words, it's possible to slink through a window in the hallway when no one's looking. Furthermore, the wind doesn't blow in through this window, so the air pressure wouldn't cause the curtains or door to make a sound. It'd be quiet. Battler leaned forward and looked at the ground below. He was searching for some sign that George had jumped down, but at a glance he didn't see any mark like that on the grass in the middle of the pouring rain. There might also be a window like this on the first floor. It'd be possible to go outside without anyone noticing. However, not only the doors, but the windows too are all locked, and the shutters are down even as well, correct? It may be possible to go out through them, but you couldn't lock them afterwards. Sure, you can lock them. Just like this. Battler closed the window and locked it as though it was perfectly obvious. Battler-san, you aren't saying... If someone inside locked it afterwards, this closed room is as easy as pie. But that means... Oh... Nanjo turned pale and shook his head several times, because the thing Battler had said had forced him to face a fact that was frightening even to imagine. That's only if the trick I'm thinking of actually happened, okay? However, with this trick, only a very limited number of people can be suspected. He didn't want to say it in front of Nanjo, but after eliminating Jessica, who had been with him the whole time, only Nanjo and Ava could have done it. I did not do anything of the sort. Yes, I swear it. In this case, it becomes a battle between Aunt Ava and Dr. Nanjo for an alibi. We just have to suspect both of you, and confine the two of you separately. To say it the other way around, the more survivors there are, the more effective this trick might be. But since our numbers have been shrunk so much, it isn't effective at all. No, on the contrary, there'd be a chance of having your own neck strangled by using it. It would have been more advantageous to make it look like a culprit was outside, to intentionally leave a door unlocked or break a window. If this disappearance drama had taken place midday today, I'd be able to claim this theory with full confidence. However, at this stage, I'm not confident at all. What's going on here? What in the world does it mean? This closed room. You don't think, What is it, Dr. Nanjo? Even if it's just a thought, please say it. Nanjo looked like he was trying to swallow his words, even though he thought of something, so I urged him on. After Dr. Nanjo refused several times, saying it was just a foolish idea, he finally said it out loud. Well, don't you think this might actually be the work of the witch? Ridiculous! There's no way witches exist. The witch is trying to make her case to us, specifically because she's doing things that humans cannot do. She must be trying to make us accept her as a witch. To me, this disappearance from the closed room of the entire guest house feels like that kind of message from the witch. It's something I must not think of. Surely it cannot mean anything. Oh, I am frightened. As Dr. Nanjo shook with fear, it looked like he was trying to erase the fearsome thoughts that he kept imagining one after the other. When we went down the stairs, Aunt Ava and Jessica were enraged, and were each persistent in their desire to leave this place and search for their respective families. It was a desire that naturally hits those who can no longer see their family. Aunt Ava told Dr. Nanjo and me to stay here, but I shook my head and started walking. I've been shut up inside for a long time already. I started wanting to breathe some outside air. Yeah, if we're going, let's go quickly. There's no way I'm gonna keep myself shut up in a place like this anymore. Let's go and find Mom, Dad, and George Nissan right now. The blood had all risen to Jessica's head. I hope it doesn't set off her asthma. If anyone wants to stay, go ahead and stay. We'll be searching outside. What about you, Dr. Nanjo? Will you watch the place by yourself? No. Allow me to join you. Rather than holding up alone in a guest house whose security was by no means guaranteed, it would be better to enter a danger zone as a group of 4 people. Aunt Ava had a gun. Moving separately from her was almost like asking to be made into the next victim. In this way, the 4 of us decided to leave the guest house. Even though it should have been safe to barricade ourselves here, we lost 8 people after doing so. It was almost as though it was a holding cell from which the sacrifices could be killed one after another. We removed the chain, unlocked the front door, and opened it. It was already pitch black. While there were some lights outside that dimly lit the pathway, they didn't have enough power to pierce the darkness that some suspicious person might be hiding in. I'm going. If you fall behind, you're on your own, okay? Still holding her gun, Aunt Ava dashed out with an umbrella, or without an umbrella. Jessica followed after her. After glancing at each other, Dr. Nanjo and I chased after them. What in the world is happening in this mansion on this island? I've just been shut up in the guest house with the rest of the cousins since yesterday, so I don't know anything about what's going on outside. Just what is happening that I don't know about? Outside this room, in the mansion, on this island, everything is happening, everything is proceeding, and everything is ending without my knowing it. Somewhere in my heart, I've already started to give up. Most likely, not one of us will see tomorrow morning. When the seagulls cry, nobody will be left alive. Yeah, they said the thing! They said the title! Dad. Mom. Who would do something like this? Jessica's woeful voice echoed throughout the rose garden. Perhaps it was the intuition of a person who lived on this island. After checking the part of the rose garden where Aunt Rosa and Maria had fallen and seeing nothing, Jessica went to look in the arbor next. Normally the arbor was probably a wonderful location to enjoy tea peacefully, while appreciating the roses on a good sunny day. Maybe even Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui had days when they relaxed and enjoyed their tea together here. In that arbor lay their corpses. At least they aren't drenched in the rain like Aunt Rosa and Maria had been, but there was no way I could say that out loud to Jessica at the moment. What do you think, Dr. Nanjo? Strangulation, I believe. Come, take a look at this. On their necks, there are distinct markings that something thin was used to strangle them. Right. I doubt those things were the primary cause for their deaths. Right there lay two stake-like weapons, decorated with an occult design, which had been found driven into Uncle Kraus's thigh area, and near Aunt Natsui's calf. We found these sticking out of my parents' forehead and chest. We decided to preserve the crime scene and leave them for the police. But Jessica didn't care about such matters, and immediately pulled the stakes out of her parents' forsaken bodies. By now, bodies gouged in the head, chest, stomach, knee, and leg have been found. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! I'll kill that murderer! Kill him! With this, the 8th twilight has been completed. Is this going to continue on to the 9th twilight? The witch shall be revived and none shall be left alive. Bring it on. If the witch revives, that means the culprit is going to make his grand appearance, right? No one's going to be left alive. Bullshit. I'll kill him. I'll definitely kill the culprit who killed Dad and Mom with my own hands. Jessica let her emotions flow out as she howled furiously. To avoid being crushed by grief, she could do nothing but resist it with anger. We still haven't found George. Jessica, you children had better stay here. I'll go into the mansion. Ava-san, we mustn't split up. It's dangerous if we do not all stick together. There's nothing we can do for Nissan or his wife. But George may still be alive somewhere. I have no time to waste here. Aunt Ava screamed this. Jessica glared at her. Ava had no more time to bother about the dead. She was more concerned for the safety of her only son who had yet to be seen. Jessica-chan, you should stay by your father and mother's side. I'll make a short trip to the mansion. Badler-kun and Dr. Nanjo, you two can stay here as well. After arbitrarily saying this, Aunt Ava rushed out of the arbor. I called out to stop her, but there was no way she would listen. However, being alone in this situation meant nothing short of death. If we silently watched her leave, it would be the same as letting her die. Since Aunt Ava was unwilling to stop, we had no choice but to follow her. And while it may be cruel to say so, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui were already dead, so there was nothing more we could do for them. In the end, we had no choice but to console Jessica and head for the mansion together. Fortunately, Jessica stood up. Perhaps she had been able to break free from her grief, but what had surfaced in its place was an expression like a demon's. I'll kill that person with my own hands. I'll definitely avenge them. Let's go, Badler. If we find the culprit, don't get in my way. I'm definitely gonna kill them. I've got my own parents to avenge. Sorry, but this is a first come, first serve. Yeah, that's right. Let's kill them. At my words, Jessica finally seemed to feel like we sympathized with her emotions. She still had that dark expression, but I felt that Jessica had regained some of her sanity. We took off, chasing after Aunt Ava. Through the rose garden, up the stone steps, running at full speed towards the mansion, whose large, intimidating shadow flashed in the lightning. With this, the murders of the epitaph have reached the 8th twilight, and then on the 9th twilight the witch shall revive. None shall be left alive. I will most likely lose my life. but at the very least, I want to burn the truth into my eyes. That's the only thing motivating me to move right now. We were able to meet up with Aunt Ava, who was having trouble with the lock to the front door. It seemed that all the blood had risen to Aunt Ava's head. That was probably making her fingers clumsy. It looked like she couldn't even handle the simple task of inserting the key into the lock. Then there was a faint sound. The sound of the door unlocking. Just as though it had waited for all the survivors to unite before opening. It felt to me as though the malicious mansion was trying to swallow up all the remaining humans at once. Perhaps the stench that erupted outwards the instant the door opened couldn't be described as just a smell. It wasn't just the charred smell from Grandfather. I think it may have also contained the regrets of the servants and Dad's group. All of the dead. What did it mean as it floated out, overwhelming us? Was it the cry of the dead, telling us not to enter? However, Aunt Ava didn't even flinch at something like that. And we, who had to chase after her, were forced to step into the mansion, even after receiving that message. George! George! If you could hear me, answer! George! Aunt Ava shouted at the top of her lungs. Considering the situation, it's probably far too optimistic to imagine he's alive. When we started following Aunt Ava's example and calling out George's name in loud voices, Aunt Ava spotted something and stopped walking. She was standing in front of the door to the parlor. What is this? Dr. Nanjo, could you come here for a second? What is it? I'd heard about the eerie magic circles written on doors, like the one on the parlor from the adults. Eerie is the only way to describe that thing, which was scribbled with a deep red paint, reminiscent of blood, so that it slowly dripped down. However, that had supposedly been there since this morning. Wondering why Aunt Ava, who had supposedly seen it already, would think it odd now, Jessica and I stared at the door. Certainly, I have no memory of numbers such as these being written here. Right? They weren't. Eerie magical characters were written here, but not numbers. From what the two of them said, only the magic circle had been there this morning. However, right now, there were 8 digits written near the upper part of the magic circle. "07151129." I didn't know what it meant, but I didn't even want to imagine what someone had been thinking when they wrote it. It was drawn with the same paint as the magic circle, but it had been clearly written very recently. The way it had dried and the condition of the color was completely different from the magic circle part. Huh, I'm sure it just has some magical meaning. No point wasting time thinking about it. Jessica intentionally spat those words out in an attempt to push away the eerie feel it gave off. There could be a magic square. The idea that a ward against magic can reside in a certain sort of number play. I believe everyone has heard of the one where adding all the numbers in each row leads to the same sum. Wasn't that a group of numbers buried in a rectangle? This is just a single row. I don't have a clue what it could mean. What Jessica-chan said is probably correct. There isn't any point in us wasting time thinking about it. Yeah, maybe it's Maria's math homework, you know? Beatrice was just helping her out. Even though she said that, she probably suspected it actually meant something. Aunt Ava was deftly writing that number down on an old receipt or something with a short ballpoint pen. Unless it had some obvious pattern, it'd probably be tough to memorize a code made up of an 8-digit number. Could this be a date? Or something? A date? What are you talking about? Well, it's probably a coincidence, but my birthday is July 15th. Once I thought that 0715 might refer to July 15th, I figured that if 1129 stood for November 29th, maybe that fit perfectly. Why would your birthday be written in a place like this? And what's up with November 29th? That's what I want to know. Still, it's probably just a coincidence. When I thought about it, it started to feel a little creepy. What if someone's birthday was November 29th? That's not the birthday of anyone else in my family. Not Dad or Kirie-san or Ange. And of course, it wasn't my mom's either. Nothing comes to mind. I don't believe it's Kinzo-san's or Genji-san's birthday. It isn't from my family either. And it isn't Rosa's or Maria-chan's. It can't be anyone in my family. And it isn't Canon-kun's or Shannon's. I always give the servants presents on their birthdays, so I know it for all of them. But I don't know anyone who was born on November 29th. Once we started imagining the 8 digits weren't meaningless, but actually 2 dates written together, it really started to look that way. However, its true meaning may be something completely different, or there may be no meaning at all. Anyway, since we don't have any real clues, it's probably pointless to stand around here worrying about it. The inside of the parlor is much more important. This morning, behind each of the doors with a magic circle drawn on them, had been the body of a victim. So if something new had been added to this door, does that mean something new has been added inside the parlor? When Aunt Ava tried to open it, she felt the resistance of the lock. She immediately took out a master key and put it in the keyhole. As soon as she opened the door, Aunt Ava let out a high-pitched scream and ran inside. That alone was enough to tell us what had happened inside the room. Dr. Nanjo and I looked at each other, and I shook my head slightly as we entered the parlor. George! George! Hang in there! George! Dr. Nanjo, quickly! George Aniki lay there crumpled alongside Shannon-chan's corpse. His chest was stained bright red, and judging by his still open eyes, I'd hate to say it to Aunt Ava, but I couldn't pick up any signs of life. After moving to take George's pulse, Dr. Nanjo shook his head, wordlessly reporting that George was dead. Brushing him aside, Aunt Ava once again crouched beside George Aniki, and started crying at the top of her lungs. With Aniki's death, one thing is certain. The murders hadn't ended on the 8th twilight. The epitaph was being carried out in its complete form, including the 9th twilight, and none shall be left alive. It was really starting to lose track of things. For some reason, Aunt Ava's half-crazed cries actually made me cool down. Crestfallen and exhausted, I flopped onto the sofa and plunked my feet on top of the table. Maybe all these murders numbed my heart. Instead of just being frightened, I felt completely confused. Dad and Kiryu-san are dead, and people have been killed off one by one, starting with the servants. And there's been a hell of a lot of them by now. I don't know when the first murder happened, but they might have been killed at a rate about 1 person per hour by now. We believe that the boat will come for us around 9 o'clock tomorrow. There's still a full 12 hours until then. How many more sacrifices of the witch will there have to be for us to survive? Well, the 4 of us, if one goes each hour, we won't last any longer than 4 hours. We don't even know if we'll last until midnight tonight. Yesterday, after lunch, we came into this parlor. Just as they had started talking about serving some tea Aunt Rosa had bought, we kids decided to take a walk. Maria was jumping around, wasn't she? Didn't Shan-chan bring us some cookies? She said Kumasawa-san had baked them or something. It would have been hilarious if she'd baked some mackerel into them, wouldn't it? That's right. I'll never hear Kumasawa Ba-chan's mackerel jokes again, will I? Oh, right. If I only remember stuff about Kumasawa Ba-chan, that wouldn't be fair to everyone else. Why did Dad and Kiryu-san even go outside? It's not like going without food for a day would kill us. So why did Gluttony get a hold of them and make them go out for food? I'll bet that fearless dad of mine just started complaining about being hungry. Kiryu-san, you were supposed to be the brakes for my reckless dad. Why didn't you stop him? And what about your daughter, Ange? She's still just 6 years old. Don't tell me you plan to leave her in my care. After all, it's doubtful now whether even I'll be able to leave this island alive. Stop! Why are you fighting at a time like this? Jessica-san, stop! It's been kind of noisy for a while. By the time I looked up to see what it was, Jessica and Aunt Ava had started fighting each other. No, maybe I should say that Jessica was grabbing at Aunt Ava. Aunt Ava killed Dad and the rest! There's no other explanation. How foolish! Why should I know anything about what happened to your parents? Who was on the first floor of the guest house? Aunt Ava. Dad and Mom were on the first floor lobby along with her. And who was left alive? Only Aunt Ava. Why? It's obvious because you're the culprit. You killed Mom and Dad, carried them outside, and then shamelessly locked the door, trying to make it seem like it was the witch's doing. Then why do you think George disappeared? He never came down to the first floor, so did he disappear from the second floor? And who was on the second floor? You people were, right? You knew, didn't you? You knew that George slipped out of that guest house, and you brazenly acted as if you didn't know anything. If you stopped George, he'd be... I said stop! Jessica-san was in the cousin's room the whole time. And Ava-san was in the first floor lobby the whole time. Neither of you is responsible for anything. What we have here is simply the sadness of losing family members. The culprit is no one, nowhere. It's all just the witch's fault. So stop hating each other, you two. The witch's fault, huh? I wonder if that's a good way to cool down the situation right now. Yeah, I finally understand why 3 people evaporated from the guest house, when all the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is what they were after, making us think the culprit was inside, and sparking this ugly mutual hatred. Has to be the culprit's, the witch's goal. But if that's the case, how did the culprit lock it from the outside? When Dad's group was attacked, their master key was definitely stolen, but the doors and windows to the guest house were built so that you couldn't lock them from the outside no matter how hard you tried. So that master key should have nothing to do with the guest house closed room. Jessica and Aunt Ava were turning their sadness at losing their blood relatives into anger at the person in front of them. Yeah, the culprit's me all along. What a twist would that be, eh? Dr. Nanjo was trying to step between them, and I sat in the sofa staring up at the ceiling, thinking about things that didn't even matter anymore with a worn-out expression. I just couldn't believe that this was the same parlor that had been so warm and pleasant midday yesterday, for just a short time before the typhoon hit. Ah! Ah! The sudden sound of a gunshot shook me out of my half-asleep trance. Smoke was rising out of the barrel of the gun Aunt Ava held. Jessica had fallen to the floor and was covering both her eyes. Aunt Ava and Dr. Nanjo were looking down at her in shock. Are you okay, Jessica-san? Jessica-san! Ah! It hurts! It hurts! It hurts! It wasn't my fault! This happened because you came at me even after I told you to stop! Hey, wait a sec, what's going on? So did Jessica grab at Aunt Ava, which turned into a scuffle? Did they start fighting over Aunt Ava's gun? Did some kind of impact cause the trigger to be pulled? I didn't know if the bullet had grazed her or if she'd been burned by the discharge, but either way Jessica was covering both her eyes, screaming, it hurts, and rolling around on the floor. Don't worry, calm down. It's not a serious wound, so get a hold of yourself. My eyes! Hurts! It hurts! I can't see! I can't see! Dr. Nanjo let Jessica borrow his shoulder, saying that he would tend to her in the servant room. The servant room in this mansion had a bed and a first aid kit and was able to function as an infirmary. Damn it! You killed Mom and Dad! I'll kill you! I'll kill you! It wasn't me! It wasn't me! Jessica-san, you'll aggravate the wound, so don't move about. Come, let us go to the servant room. Jessica continued to curse Aunt Ava as her parents' murderer. It seemed that Aunt Ava couldn't conceal her trembling at the fact that she had pulled the trigger, even if it had been an accident. It wasn't my fault. It happened because that kid jumped at me. I didn't kill anyone. More importantly, who killed George? That's right, who killed George? George! George! It isn't my fault. It isn't my fault. Wait a sec, Aunt Ava. Don't go off on your own. I didn't know if it was because Aunt Ava couldn't bear her mistake, or if she'd given up control of her body to anger at the person who had killed her only son, or if it was both of those things mixed together. At any rate, she ran out into the corridor yelling, fearful and screaming. I was also worried about Jessica's condition, but right then I couldn't leave Aunt Ava alone. Why would she go off on her own in this mansion of all places? Is she suicidal? Dr. Nanjo took Jessica towards the servant room. I chased after Aunt Ava, dashing into the depths of the mansion. After sitting Jessica on the servant room bed, Nanjo told her several times not to touch her eyes and examine the affected area. The barrel had probably been near her eyes. There was a possibility that the flames from the discharge had injured her corneas. There was no threat to her life, but it would probably be necessary to take her to a doctor as soon as possible. Nanjo applied emergency first aid, covering the affected area with gauze and wrapping it in a bandage. As a result, Jessica completely lost her field of vision. Is that okay? The wound may hurt or itch, but you mustn't scratch at it or rub it. When tomorrow comes, let us go to an ophthalmologist as soon as possible. That bitch, she was really trying to kill me. If the angle had been just a little bit off, I'd been killed by now. I'll definitely turn her into the police. Ava-san would not do such a thing. That was an accident. You call that an accident? She killed Dad and Mom. There's no way any 19th person or witch exists on this island. She's behind everything. She was the only one on the first floor of the guest house. George Nissan must have seen her kill Mom and Dad, and she killed him to keep him quiet. It's the same with Grandfather and servants. I'm sure she snuck out of the family conference last night and killed all of them. If that is indeed the case, then we'll find out as soon as the police investigate. The police are incredible, and with their powers of discernment, there's nothing that cannot be understood. There is no need for us to suspect or hate anyone. The police will resolve everything. So for now, Jessica-san, you should devote yourself to resting your body and keeping your eyes safe. Of course, if you wrinkle your forehead too much, you'll do nothing good for your eyes, not to mention your beauty. With Jessica's abuse of Ava had reached a crescendo, she actually had started glaring instinctively, and the pressure in her eyes had hurt her. Jessica herself realized that the more she talked, the more the wound would hurt. And regardless of whether she'd overcome her suspicions of Ava, she regained her composure for the time being. She killed them. Dad and Mom. And Shannon. And Cannon-kun. Cannon-kun. She'd heard that Cannon had been killed in the chapel. Jessica still hadn't seen his face after he had died. Jessica was now less fearful about the fact that she was blinded, and more frightened that the police would carry Cannon's body away once she couldn't see it, and that she would have to say her final farewell without being able to look at his face. Her anger at the culprit, and her sadness at the death of the person she liked. Those mixed emotions started her crying. But right now, tears were actually painful for her, so she wasn't even permitted to leisurely remember his face in bygone days. Jessica could do nothing but sit on the bed and let her head droop, withstanding the pain. Well then, now I'm more worried about Ava-san. I hope she isn't too shaken by this. Realizing that Jessica had calmed down for the time being and letting out a sigh, he stuck his head out into the hallway to look for any sign of the others coming back. Huh! Then, their eyes met. Nanjo, unable to understand who this person was bewildered for an instant. I hear that people who have lost the power of sight have zero anti-magic power and magic resistance power. In other words, you're an isolated pawn right now. Understand what that means? What did you say? Nanjo had no way of understanding who the person in front of him was, much less what she had just said. Dr. Nanjo, what's going on? Unable to see, Jessica had to rely on voices alone to make out the situation. But since she heard Nanjo say something in an uneasy tone, she tightened up, thinking that something bad might have happened. Stop, please! Please don't kill me! I have a sick grandchild! I mustn't die here! Please spare me! Ugh! Dr. Nanjo! Dr. Nanjo! Jessica couldn't do anything except call out from the bed. Judging by the tone of his voice, Nanjo was in the corridor confronting someone. And he was scared. His life must have been threatened just a second ago. No, stop it! Ugh! Oh, the night twilight the Twitch shall revive and none shall be left alive. The witch pointed the end of her gold staff at Nanjo. Even though he didn't know what she was planning to do, Nanjo assumed she must be trying to take his life. Dr. Nanjo! Dr. Nanjo! Is someone there? Answer me! Stop it! Ah! A sharp sound echoed. And just as sharply, the tip of the golden staff tapered and stretched, slicing into Nanjo's forehead. Jessica, who could only grasp what was happening with her ears, had no clue what was going on. But even so, she was able to realize that with that sound, Nanjo had died. And she could tell that the person was now in the corridor right in front of the servant room. Furthermore, since she couldn't see, she wouldn't be able to run away, much less resist. Knowing that she was a mouse in a trap and in a life or death situation, Jessica shuddered. Oh, Jessica, too bad. Your eyes got injured. Now you can't even escape. I'm gonna play a whole lot with Nanjo's corpse now. When I get bored of that, I'll kill you next, and play a bunch more. No, wait, if I got you here blind already, I won't wait until you're dead. I'll have a lot of fun with you before I kill you too. So wait there, shaking for a while, okay? As you try to imagine all the ways I'm playing with Nanjo's corpse. Ugh! Jessica was struck with fear and let out a frail scream. She wanted to scream in a much louder voice, trying to get someone to help her, but she couldn't. When faced with true fear, it clogs up a person's throat. Right then, Jessica could barely even breathe. Help me! Help me! She searched around with her hands, trying to find some way to escape, But even though she should have known this room well, just being unable to see it made it a closed room of darkness. She ran into a shelf or something, and things like a candy jar and bottles fell down, hitting her on the head. As she was now, it would have been tough for her to even guard her head to block it. She was painfully aware of how powerless humans become just by losing their sense of sight. Of course, she had no time to be impressed by this fact. She crawled around at random, trying to escape from that place, where she kept bumping into things she didn't understand, getting hit by various falling objects, and it felt like the entire room was alive, bullying her and refusing to let her escape. Then, a footstep could be heard from that presence in the hallway, and then a voice. She probably poked her head into the room, since Jessica had been so loud. "You really are noisy. Act like a lady and wait there on the bed. 'Cause I'll give you a wonderful blood-red death outfit fitting for such an honored daughter. Something good enough to make the person who finds you faint, okay?" Until just a second ago, she had sworn that she'd kill the culprit if she found them. However, she was now very powerless. She couldn't do anything except let out a scream, crawling around on the ground and bumping her head into the bed and legs of the desks. "Help me! Help me! Someone help me! Dad! Mom! Battler! Someone come! Help me! Canon-kun!" In the corridor, as the witch thought of how to toy with Nanjo's life, a single gold butterfly secretly watched the scene from the corner of the hallway. It was Bito, who had barely escaped with her life once before. The gold butterfly softly returned to human form. It was faint and transparent like a lace curtain. By now, her power was so weak that even maintaining this form was difficult for her. Right next to her, Ronov also appeared. It is unlikely that Jessica will survive. Of course, there were to be no survivors from the beginning. She has grown feelings of love for Canon. I have toyed with them at times. However, such behavior was shameful for a witch. Love is a single element. Romantic love is even more pure, more sacred. Though for some reason you seem to despise it thoroughly, milady. Teacher told me, magic exists to bring people happiness. That's something I myself must have been aware of in the past. Ever since I forgot that, I stopped being a witch. And so, I lost the right to be Battler's opponent. I can hardly believe it, milady. Do you actually intend to rescue Jessica? It will be dangerous. I know. Even if I do save her, she will become a plaything of the witch's banquet when the door to the Golden Land opens. But even so, that death would be far more compassionate than what that person would do to her. The witch's banquet steals lives in a terrible way, but does not do so more than once. It does not toy with life and death. However, that person is different. She kills over and over. She kills for fun. There's not even a trace of compassion there. I want to at least save Jessica from that kind of cruel fate. Certainly, by carrying that out, you would probably be praised as a good witch. However, the new Beatrice-sama already views you as hostile, milady. If you were to be seen by her again, you would not have any method of escape this time, correct? When I reunited George and Shannon, I finally understood what a witch is. And what magic is. I am a witch. I must act as a witch. And I must be acknowledged as Battler's opponent to make Battler accept me as a witch this time around. The road to that goal may be long and difficult. However, if I do not take a step forward here and now, I won't be able to call myself a witch. I understand your feelings, but how do you plan to rescue her? There are not many forms of magic that your body is capable of now, milady. Do you not have to borrow George's power even back when you revived Shannon? Indeed. And for that very reason, maybe I'll save Jessica. Right now, she is begging for Canon to save her. If I can borrow the power of that emotion, my magic may be able to knock on the doors of the land of the dead once again. You may be able to knock, however you would use up all your magical energy. If you were to be spotted by the new Beatrice-sama, you'd be truly without a method of escape. I am no longer your butler, milady. Understand that I cannot assist you if the situation worsens. I know. By now I have toyed with and taken more lives than I can count, so I may not be able to make up for it except by saving the same number of lives, bringing them through that door. I have nothing to lose in the first place, I am just a gold butterfly who has passed its name and magic power on, and who is no longer acknowledged as a witch. What about Badler-sama? You are partway through the game with him. He has said he would wait until you returned. Are you truly satisfied to end it here? You have a duty to return to the seat across from Badler-sama, milady. For that very reason, if there's a life that only I can save, I will save it. And I will be accepted as a witch. I must become a witch. If this is training, it is a very childish thing, nothing that compares to the evils I have committed before now. Vanish, love. Watch what may be the final magic of a single butterfly who used to be called a witch. Certainly. Please show me magic that will not disgrace the name of the Golden Witch, and I pray that it is not your final spell. Go, my friend. If you can find enough ink, write down the story of my foolish life, and hand it over to some fool who's about to walk down the same path. So long, Ronov. Kanen-kun, where are you? Where are you? Help me. Help me. Ah! Milady, I am always there by your side. Kanen-kun? Kanen-kun? It seemed to Jessica as though she heard Kanen's voice just then. She looked around with unseeing eyes, but of course she saw nothing. On the contrary, that action caused her head to hit the desk again. Kanen-kun? Kanen-kun? Help me. Help me. Yes, milady. I will help you. Kanen-kun? You survived? This time she thought she heard his voice clearly. Jessica jumped up in surprise, banging her head against the desk once again. Milady, please calm your heart and listen. Unfortunately, I am not alive. Huh? I have already died. However, that witch came to me to tell me of your peril, and she gave me just a little bit of time so I could save you, milady. Please calm your heart even more. If you do, my form will become visible even to you, milady. Yeah, good thing Jessica's not weak to bonking. Otherwise all her weaknesses would be just exposed and she'd be in break. Jessica obeyed those words. She chased all idle thoughts from her head and relaxed her breathing. Of course, her heart felt like it was going to explode after hearing the voice of the one she liked, and had thought was dead. She resisted the excitement with all her strength. When she did, she felt as though Kanen-kun really was right in front of her. Even though she shouldn't have been able to see him with her eyes, she was able to sense him clearly. Can you see me, milady? Yeah, I can see. I can definitely see you, Kanen-kun. I exist only as a soul now, so I cannot touch you, milady. I cannot do anything except talk to you like this. With my current weak existence, I can do nothing more than that, but I should be able to be of some aid to you, milady. So, we can only talk. I can't touch you, Kanen-kun. I am now more fragile than smoke from a candle. So much so that if one of the living, such as you, were to touch me, I would be wiped away instantly. So please don't try to touch me, because I am also holding back my desire to touch you, milady. Okay. More importantly, milady, please listen well. The new Golden Witch has a cruel heart. She surely plans to make you meet with a horrible fate. You must escape from this room and hide. How? I can't see anything. Quiet. I will be your eyes, milady. Please move in accordance with my instructions. First, please crawl 3 steps from there, then stand up. You are now under the desk, milady. If you stand up there, you'll hit your head. That was under the desk? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna stand. Well done. Next, please turn to face towards 9 o'clock. Yes, well done. Ha, ha, ha. This is pretty embarrassing. Ow, ow, ow. Are you okay? Does your wound hurt? No, I'm fine. What's next? Jessica thought that if this was a dream, she didn't want to wake up. And if she was allowed to, she would have wanted to take off the bandage covering her eyes and see him. However, if she did that, Kanen might vanish like a frail candle smoke, just like he himself had said. She was afraid of that. So she satisfied herself with just listening to his words once more, repressing her desire to see him, to hold him. Therefore, what hurt her eyes now were tears of gratitude. Tears of gratitude for the god, or maybe the witch, who had given her this miraculous moment. Is this okay? If we keep talking like this, won't we be noticed by her? Won't our voices be heard? I have erected a secrecy barrier. As long as we don't make any loud sounds or speak noisily, no one will notice us. That's why people can't tell when I'm around. I don't really get it, but anyway, we'll be fine as long as we stay quiet, right? What should I do next? Please walk 10 steps in that direction. You will touch the sofa. Please continue along that. Do it slowly. Stay calm. Believe in my words. Sure. Huh, it's weird. Even though it's so scary not being able to see, I'm not scared at all if you're with me, Kanen-kun. Yes, that is the sofa. Trace it to the left while advancing slowly. There is a table just to your left. Be careful not to bump into it with your shins. It was a very, very strange and bizarre team effort. Even though she would have been killed in an instant if the terrible witch noticed her, there was no fear in Jessica's heart. She was being protected and guided by Kanen, someone she thought she'd never be reunited with. It would probably be just a momentary miracle. Even so, Jessica was deeply grateful for it. If she hoped for too much, she was sure that he would disappear, so she tried not to ruin this faint miracle. In trying to engrave this moment into her heart for all eternity, she slowly continued to walk, obeying Kanen's voice. Okay, if you walk 10 more steps, you will exit the servant room. Then please turn to face 9 o'clock and keep walking very slowly. Put your hand on the wall to your right and keep on following that. I will take you to a safe room. If I go there, will you leave, Kanen-kun? Kanen didn't answer, but his lack of an answer was enough to tell her the truth. Then, no way. I don't want to go. If you stay here, you will be killed by that witch. I don't mind. If I'm killed, I can go to the world where you are, Kanen-kun. Milady, please listen to me. The human world is too bright and painful for the dead like me, so I cannot stay for long. So, milady, please allow me to use what time I am allowed to guide you to a safe place, because after that, I will stay with you until my time runs out. Is that the very best you can manage, Kanen-kun? Yes. In exchange, I will stay by your side as long as possible. I will stay with you and talk with you, milady. Talk about what? What do you want to talk about? I don't care what, as long as you're willing to tell me, Kanen-kun. Well then, I will tell you the story of a cowardly servant boy who lacked all courage. The story of a foolish and pitiful boy who fell in love with a young lady as radiant as the sun, even when the lady confessed those same feelings to him. He lost to his cowardice, but was never able to be honest with his feelings while he still lived. Yes. Then I want to tell you a story too. It's the story of a cowardly girl who couldn't muster the courage to tell the boy she loved how she felt, much more often. The story of how that girl, after being reunited with that boy by a miracle from God, used that chance to finally muster up her courage. I also want to hear that. So for that reason as well, let us go. To a safe place. Yeah. If I could be with you, Kanen-kun, I would walk however far, however long it took. I don't need eyes anymore. If you tell me to step forward, I will take that step even if it leads off a cliff. Thank you. Come, milady. Let us go. The first 10 steps. No, I don't like it. I won't do it unless you call me Jessica. Understood. Well then, Jessica, take the first 10 steps. Yes, Kanen-kun. Very quietly, Jessica and Kanen slowly snuck out of the servant room. Just around the corner, the witch could be seen cruelly looking down at Nanjo's corpse, but she didn't even notice their presence. However, Ronov, who stood at the ready by her side, met Kanon's eyes. Kanon thought, oh no, grimacing and blocking Jessica with his back. However, Ronov did not inform his master. He played dumb, just as though he hadn't spotted Kanon in the first place. No, maybe he did appear to chuckle. From a finger on Ronov's hands, which were joined behind his back, a single small gold butterfly appeared, flying in front of Kanon as though guiding him. It went unnoticed by the master he served. Kanon was surprised at the magic that the butterfly held, because it was far more powerful than the secrecy barrier Kanon possessed. Yeah, so it's not Beatrice pretending to be Kanon, it's Beatrice calling Kanon's dead soul down, according to her explanation. He may not have known it, but that power of his had originally been Ronov's. Kanon's ability was an imitation of that, which Kinzo had made and given to him. As that butterfly of secrecy magic scattered gold scales, it grew smaller bit by bit. It probably wouldn't last long. Without a doubt, even that would buy them enough time to get them far away from the cruel witch. Okay, milady, let's follow that wall and keep walking. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, if I can be with you, Kanon-kun, I'll keep on going, on and on. Led and protected by the small gold butterfly, the pair, separated by the wall of life and death, slowly walked away, towards the end of the corridor. There was no way the evil witch could have had magic to notice their flight. Until they disappeared at the other end of the corridor, the witch didn't realize that Jessica had vanished. By the time the gold butterfly Ronov had set evaporated completely, Jessica had reached the parlor. Even though it would have been a quick trip if she'd been able to see as she was now, it had been a very long adventure. Come, milady, we've reached the parlor. I will now take you to the bundle of curtains by the window. If you hide in there, you'll surely be safe. Inside the curtains? Not bad. I used to hide in there a lot a long time ago. Beatrice-sama. Huh? Kanon called out the witch's name. Jessica looked around in surprise, but she obviously couldn't spot the witch when she couldn't see. Bito had appeared once again with a faint form. Kanon squared off against the figure of the evil witch. Bito's expression was soft, or even pitying. I don't know what sort of whim led you to revive me, nor do I understand what you're thinking now. Oh, it was nothing more than a whim. No, this is how witches should be. It took me 1,000 years to realize that. That is how foolish it is. Who's this? Who's there? Milady, be quiet. She is the witch, Beatrice. I owe her because she let me be with you one more time. The witch, Beatrice. Forget about me. More importantly, you should quickly hide that girl in the shadows of the curtains. You probably do not have much time left. You may spend it having a final conversation with Jessica. A secret meeting inside a bunch of curtains. How clever you two are. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you for letting me be with Kanon-kun. Jessica didn't know where Bito was, so she said that while facing the wrong direction. Perhaps she found that funny, Bito snickered. I will now leave this room to the pair of lovers. Evil witches have no need for tales of love. Allow me to depart. Beatrice-sama, thank you very much. Huh. There is no need to thank me. You know that something like this cannot be compensate for all the evil I have done. I offer my gratitude to this good witch as a parting gift. I don't know what has happened before or what will happen later. However, at this moment, you are without a doubt a good witch. You flatter me, Furniture. The next time we meet, I may be an evil witch who doesn't betray your expectations. And with that, farewell. Bito left the parlor and closed the door. And mustering the last of her remaining magical power, she sealed the door. The fact that those two had escaped into here would eventually be noticed. And now that the ninth twilight had been reached, no matter how much they struggled, their inescapable fate had already been decided. However, until that final moment, they should be given the chance to speak with each other of their love. The witch poured out all of her magical power to protect their time together, so that no one would be able to defile their time alone until the last possible moment. At that time, Bito noticed something. Her body had been detected by a magical searching technique. The evil witch's furniture had sniffed this place out. So, boorishness is the witch's way of doing things after all. To think she doesn't even intend to let those two young ones speak of their love. 45, data received. Checking target, confirmed as its predecessor, Lady Beatrice. Analyzing parlor defensive wall. 72-layered, multi-layered defensive wall, attack-proof barrier, and anti-magic armor. Sniping into the parlor would be impossible. Data link to 410. 410, data received. Then we just gotta kill Predecessor Sama first, yeah? Great Lady Beatrice, your firing permission, please. Go ahead and shoot. Oh, and avoid her vital areas. There's something I want to ask that old hag. 410, firing. The Chester sisters' golden bow released a gold snake. It crawled down the corridor, starting from the front of the servant room, aiming for the parlor as it drew a soft, snake-like curved line trajectory. And pierced Bito's chest. Ah. Gold butterflies gathered, and the cruel witch appeared along with her furniture. Predecessor Sama, no further instructions will be permitted. Ugh, I didn't think they would be. Still, the Chester sisters really gotten rusty. To think they failed to bring you down. And twice at that. Ronov spoke in a manner befitting the witch's butler. As she pushed her pain aside, Bito grinned and spoke back. My apologies, Predecessor Sama. We were ordered to avoid vital areas. As soon as we get the order, we can pierce you at any time. We can pierce a hole in your ears, a hole in your belly button, any hole you like. Eat. The gold snake that had pierced Beatrice grew even longer, drawing a funnel-shaped helix and waiting its next order. It was prepared to pierce the vital spot as soon as the evil witch told it to. For what reason would someone like you, who is no less brutal than I, make them avoid my vital areas? New Beatrice. I wanted to ask you something. I don't know what kind of trick you used to escape. We thought we took you out, right? Why is that even though you could have escaped by hiding, you took the risk of appearing again? It can't be that you came back just to protect those two young people, right? Well, who knows? And just a second ago, why did you do something as soft as reviving the lovers and reuniting them? The more I hear about you, the more I learn that I don't even reach up to your feet as an incarnation of evil. If you're like that, why did you suddenly start acting so mildly? That's what I want to ask. I am brutal, therefore I am fickle. What purpose could questioning that possibly serve? Chester sisters, so her. When she ordered that, the gold snake that was curled into a helix and suspended in space moved as fast as a real snake going after its prey, and pierced Bito's body multiple times from both sides, its golden tail drawing an X shape. As the cruel witch had ordered, it drew a cross-stitch through Bito's chest. The gold thread made a squeaking sound and tormented Bito. Rather than a gold snake searching for its prey, it waited for orders like a sewing needle ready to sew Bito. If it's you we're talking about, there's no way it could have been a whim. I've heard about you, and I've learned. You're such an incarnation of evil that I don't even rise up to your feet. I thought I was truly a fitting successor to you. But you've always been in the way. You always say warm, pleasant things that shock me. What changed you? You explored the depths of evil for 1,000 years, and I let you live, because I want to know what happened to make you change so much. If you really want to know, then I suggest you waste 1,000 years as well. So... Bito's chest was once again sewn with a golden cross-stitch. It tightened once again, squeezing fresh blood from Bito's chest. The intense pain it caused ran in conflict to its beauty to the eye. You might be one of those things that disappear when they die and don't leave a corpse, so I'll kill you slowly. But if you answer my questions honestly, I'll let you die easy. I'll give you a splendid, gorgeous death, perfect for my predecessor Sama. I'll sink you in a coffin filled with water and roses. Isn't that wonderful? And you still won't talk about the reason for your change of heart? Not answering when she's asked is another one of an evil witch's pleasures. So, twice. Of course you don't have to answer. After all, that way I get to torture you. The endless magic truly is wonderful. When you think about it, this world is limited in every way. The endless cannot exist in the human world. Because gods are without limits, the human world is deprived of all limitlessness, so it can be looked down upon. So, in other words, this endless power is the power of the gods. A wonderful power, where the more you play with it, the more fun ways of playing you find. You use that power as you please for 1,000 years when on a rampage. Why are you having a change of heart only now? You aren't gonna say you regret handing it over to me, are you? Yeah, Ava Beatrice is very cruel. It's even more so if you hear, like, with her voice acting. Her voice actress really, like, really pulls it off. How could I regret it? The endless magic you believe in is no magic at all. True magic lies in a deep abyss that you most certainly cannot reach. And this is what you realized? Then what is it? Wander about for 1,000 years without realizing, foolish witch. So, 3 times this time. Ugh. Beetle's chest had been embroidered with the gold thread. It tightened even more, causing Beetle more and more pain. Well, that's fine. I'm no longer curious about what kind of revelations an old hag who refuses to die might have had. I'm bored now, so I'll just kill you. If I do, the barrier around the parlor will dissolve. Then I'll torture Ken and Jessica to death a whole bunch of times. Being able to have 2 lovers as my toys at the same time sounds pretty fun, right? Kill her. Without missing by a millimeter, the gold sewing thread shot through Beetle's heart. That intense pain was worse than all the pain before that put together. Beetle finally remembered the actual feeling of dying, which he had forgotten over the course of 1,000 years. But she couldn't die. She must not die. If she died, it would mean handing over the 2 in the parlor to the cruel witch. So she definitely couldn't die. But she resolutely refused to die. New Beatrice, I have a request. The lovers' meeting between the 2 in the parlor would not last long. In the amount of time an hourglass can measure, Canon would probably vanish into the land of the dead. Would you please allow them at least that much time? No way! Isn't tearing apart 2 who love each other fun? You said it yourself, so I want to try it. In that case, I mustn't allow you that pleasure. Yes, it can be fun tearing apart lovers. Really? I'm sure it is fun. So don't get in my way. So more. So. 410, understood. The merciless gold sewing needle sewed the gold thread through Beetle's heart over and over again. However, no matter how much it tightened, that heart did not stop. Ugh, this isn't nearly enough. I won't die by something like this. What are you doing? Make this old hag shut up. Kill her quickly. We're killing her. Even though we've sewn her heart in place several times, this person's heart won't stop. Are you immortal? Yeah, Beatrice has really grown through the series. Her development is very interesting. Of course not. I've handed over the Endless over to you. Our hearts will not beat many more times. However, if by making it beat just once more I can give the 2 in this room a bit more time, I'll continue that resistance for all eternity. So, keep sewing until her heart stops moving. Why doesn't she die? It's impossible. Why isn't her heart stopping? Even though it's been sewn in place. Who cares? We'll make the heart explode from the inside, yeah? How pitiful. You could have died cleanly if you hadn't resisted us. As I said that, even though the gold needle and thread made round trips over and over again, Beetle still didn't die. The cruel witch eventually grew pale at how bizarre it was. What in the world are you? You probably cannot understand. Even I didn't understand, and yet, somehow or another, it seems that this is true magic. In other words, I have now become it. I've become a true witch. Fixing explosion center in heart interior. Fuse preparations ready. Explode. There was a terrible sound, and gold leaf was scattered around the area along with a cloud of gold butterflies. Bito's chest had opened wide from the inside, and from that, gold butterflies and gold leaf poured out, staining the surrounding area gold. Then Bito's flesh crumbled. Like a puppet whose strings had been cut, she crouched down and crumpled. However, a gold heart, tied by gold threads, floated in the air and continued to beat. What in the... monster! When the Chester sisters saw that, they fell on their butts in shock. Somehow, even though Bito had become nothing more than a heart, it still kept beating, continuing to protect the barrier to the parlor. It was an immeasurably vast magical power, impossible to measure. In other words, endless. I'm the Endless Witch, right? Why is this old hag still alive after all this? Chester sisters, smash that heart. Quickly. It's impossible. My apologies. We can't do it. Indeed, it probably will be impossible. No number of people could crush that heart, and certainly not the soldiers who serve under His Highness the Dragon King. In that case, an Endless Witch like me should be able to crush it, right? My power is that of a god. I am afraid to say that your power cannot leave a single wound on the Endless of Beatrice-sama. Just what do you mean by that? Just as there can be no light without knowledge of shadows, there can be no infinite without knowledge of the finite. Before Milady Beatrice's true endless power, your frail magic is quite lacking. What is that? Ah! The cruel witch was surprised and stepped back. It was thinner than a lace curtain, but Bito's form, no, Beatrice's form was still standing there. Even after being laid bare so tragically like this, she refused to let evil through that door. At that time, a shadow just as thin as Beatrice stood behind her. It was Canon. Beatrice-sama, thank you very much. I won't forget what you've done for us. I'll hear those words of yours once the number of my blessings has surpassed the number of grievances I have caused. Was that long enough? Yes, truly, thank you very much. And Beatrice-sama, you have also done enough. Please, be at peace. Is that so? Is this enough? What's going on? Why are you guys calling that old hag Beatrice? Beatrice is my name, right? It's gotta be, since I'm the new Golden Witch and Endless Witch, right? How rude. How dare you claim Beatrice-sama's name? I'm afraid to say that the name of Beatrice-sama belongs to the one crowned as the Endless Witch. Right now, you are the predecessor. What did you say? Farewell, Canon. I'm sure I'll see you soon enough, in a new nightmare. In the nightmare of a new night, I will once again be your companion, Beatrice-sama. With that, if you would excuse me. Canon's form grew faint and he disappeared into thin air. After watching him go, Beatrice's form also grew faint, and before disappearing, it slumped over onto the floor. Then there was a splat. The golden heart that had been floating in midair lost its sparkle, became blood-stained flesh, and fell to the ground. How frail it was. It was ragged and full of holes, but until a moment ago it had sparkled so much, had continued to beat so forcefully. That heart still just barely managed to beat. However, it was only a matter of time before it stopped. Beatrice, whose form had become fragile and faint like incense smoke, lay on the floor, steadily watching over her own heart. There, the cruel witch could be seen. What do you mean, endless? Aren't you actually collapsed in a heap right there? How can there be a finite infinity? That's a contradiction. It couldn't exist. This is the limit of your magic. The endless is better than the finite. Beatrice no longer even had the will to respond. No, on the contrary, it was doubtful that the words of the cruel witch even reached her ears. If you're a real endless witch, try standing up. How's it going? If you can't stand, can you? Why do you think you can't stand? It's because you aren't the endless witch. The cruel witch poked Beatrice's heart with her fingernail. Beatrice had no words with which to respond to that provocation. However, instead of words, she returned a single expression. It felt humiliating only to the cruel witch. Because she had gently curved her mouth and smiled. Footsteps were approaching that place. There was no way she had misheard it. That rough squeaking of heels was the sound of Badler's footsteps. Badler, is it? After talking so tough, I ended up like this. I've been trying to become the true witch you talked about. In my own way. Yeah. I was watching. Hey. Have I been able to become a witch? Have I earned the right to become your opponent? Yeah, it's so odd to feel like you're on Beatrice's side now, right? Oh, you guys are crying. This song is so emotional. I'm glad you guys are really feeling it. It's useless. Badler said it unbelievably bluntly. As Beatrice breathed painfully, she saw this and sneered at herself, as though she should have expected it. I see. Yes, the road to becoming a true witch will be much, much longer than this. However, I will not surrender. Just like you never surrendered to my torture, I will definitely become a true witch and be accepted as your opponent. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. You aren't my opponent. The cruel witch raised her foot high. Below it was Beatrice's frail heart. Die, you old hag. Let's see how endless you are when you've been crushed to a pulp. I am the witch. I am the golden witch Beatrice. Die. Ugh, it's useless. It's all useless. What is this? Where is this? Get in your seat. Ito isn't my opponent. You are. Badler? What kind of magic is this? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Chester sisters. 45, understood. Attacking everywhere. 410, understood. Die, Badler. The Chester sisters each readied their own golden bows and fired golden arrows. The two only pulled the bowstring together when using precision guidance. If they were fighting against an enemy before their eyes, they fired their bows at the same time, and their might did not suffer in the slightest. Well, it was deflected. There's no barrier. It was deflected by resistance alone. 45, target analysis. 45, understood. Huh? What? Did I break down? Am I insane? Anti-magic resistance power, endless 9. Even mythical class magical attacks won't be effective against the target. Golden bow warheads could penetrate anti-magical armor through reciprocal corrosion. When one tried to block them with anti-magic resistance power, even 8 digits were not sufficient to break their penetration. By the way, even famous gods that appear in myths rarely reach as high as 9 digits. Take care, Psycho Reaper. Catch you later. Thanks for dropping by. For that reason, 9 digits were enough to measure pretty much all sensible values. Battler had buried all 9 of those digits with 9s. How foolish. When Battler-sama gets serious, magical arrows and the like aren't enough to even make his hair tremble. The Chester sisters dropped their golden bows in shock. To Battler himself, it was as though a pair of dragonflies had flown past his shoulder. What are you doing? Is that some kind of game? Eeh! Monster! Stay back, small fries. Get in your seat, fake witch. I'll tear out that mask off of yours. Eeh! The Chester sisters couldn't hide their fear as Battler's ferocity, and they backed up as though they'd been struck. Beatrice watched the scene in shock. Battler? What is this supposed to be? Just like you see, you aren't my opponent. She is. That imposter over there who's using your name. Ah! I'm fighting against a witch. I face off against an opponent who claims to be a witch, and deny witches by defeating them. I've seen more than enough of your arrogance. Then Battler's eyes grew sharp as blades as he stared down the cruel witch. What are you calling magic? What are you calling witches? You're no witch. I'll rip that mask off and tear it to shreds. Virgilia, get ready to fight. Understood. Preparations are complete, so go whenever you're ready. Beatrice, stay back and rest. Indeed. Vito looked at Battler timidly. She still hadn't been acknowledged as his opponent. Was she qualified to watch the game board from the sidelines? Vito, stay back and watch. I'll tear it off. I'll thoroughly dismantle this fake witch. I won't let someone like this call themselves a witch. You protected the honor of true witches. You don't need to say anything. On your behalf, I'll teach her the name of the Golden Witch definitely isn't that cheap. Battler. Those are the general rules. Thank you, Ronov. I get most of the rules now. I see. You can't win with magic, so you came to face off with me in a world where victory is decided by something other than magic. Foolish people. Do you really think you can win against me with twisted logic? Yeah, I do. I'll crush all of your twisted logic onto Ava. I am not Ava. That is the name of the old shell I shed. I am the true witch born inside of her. Don't try to trick me. Your true form isn't a witch or anything like it, but a flesh and blood human. The human culprit, Ushimiya Ava. Virgilia, reconstruct the second twilight. Understood. On the second twilight, Rosa and Maria were killed in the Rose Garden. We begin by applying the Ava culprit theory for that case. Huh? Ridiculous. Come, arise, try to remember. What form did Ushimiya Hideyoshi have? What? What's that supposed to mean? It's a summoning of the dead. A witch can easily bring even the dead up to stand for testimony. Oh, here's time to Ace Attorney this, guys. On the opposing side, a transparent Uncle Hideyoshi was summoned. Talk about convenient. He looked as though he couldn't see what was going on here, almost like a person on the other side of the TV. Witness summons Ushimiya Hideyoshi's testimony. Come, Hideyoshi, speak. I was taking care of Ava in our room the whole time. Of course, Ava didn't leave the room. Aunt Ava, around here testimony that isn't in red isn't worth crap. I demand that he repeats it again in red. Oh yeah, that's right. Sure, say it in red. I was in the room the whole time, both before and after the time of the crime. See, look, this makes it impossible for Ava to be the culprit, right? How will you counter this? Ridiculous. That move's so lame I could yawn. Vito never used such childish tricks, not even once. Battler. Repeat it. Aunt Ava was also in the room for the entire time before and after the crime. Uncle Hideyoshi was just there to create an alibi. You made him stay in the room and stealthily snuck out. If that isn't true, this guy should be able to say so in red. I refuse to repeat it. Hideyoshi's evidence is sufficient. There's no need for me to repeat that, right? She has refused. You need show no mercy. This is check. Yeah, I'll take it. This opponent's slow. Check. Maybe Uncle Hideyoshi didn't leave the room the whole time, but saying he was taking care of you the whole time is a bright red lie. Therefore, no alibi exists for you. You had a chance to slip out of the room and kill Aunt Rosa and Maria. If you think you can dodge that, try proclaiming in red that Aunt Ava didn't take a step outside of her room. You can't, right? Checkmate. What the hell? I don't get it. Sorry, Aunt Ava. Even if you aren't used to the rules, beating your opponent down with all your strength is how this game is played. Right, Beetle? Indeed. The witch side resigns. Let us continue on to the next game. Next is the 4th through 6th Twilights. It seemed that the witch still didn't understand how to make a winning move, and she lost her composure and irritation. She was probably also angry that a shot had been taken at her, while she still didn't know what was going on. However, I won't go easy on her at all. Just like she didn't go easy on the victims at all, I won't go easy on her. Virgilia, next crime. Let's reconstruct the case with Dad and the rest. Understood. 3 people, Rudolph, Kirie, and Hideyoshi, went to the mansion and were killed there. My move won't change. Aunt Ava, you are the culprit. This time, you don't even have an alibi from Uncle Hideyoshi. You claim that you were sleeping in the room all by yourself, but that's not true. If you can proclaim it in red, just try it. I refuse. So tell me, Ava is just a woman, and the people who died were 3 adults with 2 guns, right? How did she kill them all by herself? How did she do it with those stakes as weapons? Like everyone keeps asking, how is a stake shooting device constructed? Explain that. Unless you can explain it, even if Ava doesn't have an alibi, that doesn't mean it was possible for her to commit the murders. I refuse to explain. It's a devil's proof. Just because I can't explain it doesn't deny the existence of an unknown murder technique, or maybe an unknown weapon. In short, even if I can't explain how the stake shooting device is constructed, that doesn't prove that it doesn't exist. What the hell? Is that ridiculous to even count? Your devil's proof is valid. Agreed. It's a valid devil's proof. Badler-kun can claim that a stake shooting device exists without bearing the responsibility of explaining how it's constructed. The witch's side cannot object to this move. Not bad. How pushy. Huh. Well, there's this ill-natured witch who trained me well. This is check, okay? Try saying in red that Aunt Ava didn't take a step out of that room. That's right, you shouldn't be able to say it. If you can't say it, it's over. Checkmate. That's so irrational. This is messed up. Those are the rules of this game. How about some black tea first? And some delicious cookies as well. I don't need all that. That pisses me off. So you fight like a coward just because you can't win with magic. Don't get irritated. Drink some black tea or something. I'll take mine straight. What about you, Beetle? I'm fine. More importantly, Battler, don't let your guard down. Your opponent is only unfamiliar with the rules. This will only really start once your opponent gets the gist of it. But I'll crush her. I'll thoroughly crush her. Because she isn't a witch. If I accept her as a witch, all your stubbornness will count for nothing. I don't care what kind of irrational argument or twisted logic I have to use. I'll crush her with all my heart and soul. Badler's side then stuck with the Ava culprit theory to explain Kraus and Natsui, the 7th and 8th Twilights, in the exact same way. At that time, there had been no one on the first floor except for Ava and all the victims. As before, no one could establish an alibi for Ava. Back then, Ava had claimed that they disappeared while she went to the bathroom, but there was nothing to support that, and the witch side couldn't repeat it in red either. Using the same style of argument as that question regarding the stake shooting machine, the witch side asked once more how Ava could have strangled both of them at the same time all by herself. But of course, Badler splendidly counterattacked by refusing to explain because of the devil's proof. Under the storm and stress of Badler's spirit, the witch side was completely swelled up, having to resign 3 times during the short period of time she had to grasp the rules. Ha, I see. I'm finally starting to get the knack of it. I won't let you have things your way anymore. This time, let me take the initiative. Ronov, reconstruct the 4th through 6th Twilights. Pick out Ushimi and Kirie. For now, let me return to the murders of Rudolph, Kirie, and Hideyoshi during the 4th through 6th Twilights. What is she thinking? Why would she return once more to a situation where she's lost? I see. This is an unusual attack and one you do not use. Be careful. At that time, the survivors were barricaded in the guest house. They didn't have food, but out of concern for their safety, they were at least prepared to go without eating until the next day. However, in the end, only 3 of them went out for food. That's right. In the end, 3 people went outside to get food. It's a pain, so I'll add in some red and say it. Kirie didn't think that they needed food. since going without food for about a day wouldn't kill them. She claimed that they should not leave the guest house. And yet she herself suggested that they leave the guest house to get food. Isn't that a contradiction? Yeah, apparently they can call do-overs. Yes, a spectacular contradiction. A contradiction exists in Kirie's pattern of behavior. That contradiction was created by me with magic. In other words, I controlled Kirie using magic and made her say that to lure the sacrifices outside. Ridiculous. There's no way that kind of magic exists. It's a devil's proof, right? Just because you don't know about that magic doesn't deny its existence. And I don't bear the responsibility of acting that out magic for you. And yet you have even less room to counter this argument. I wonder if it's okay to fight this way. Yes, it is truly a spectacular move. Battler-sama, your response if you please. That's a weird strategy she's taking. Just what is this? She has placed a piece attacking Ushibiya's Kirie's pattern of behavior. As has already been explained, Kirie's pattern of behavior had her saying that they should not go outside or head to the mansion to get some food. And yet she herself took the initiative, taking the contradictory action of going outside to get food. Unless you can explain the contradiction, she will use this violent move to claim that magic was the cause. Yeah, Ronov is pretty chaotic, isn't he? Well, that's probably what Kirie-san thought in the beginning. She probably thought through a few things midway, and then changed her mind and decided the food really was necessary. It'd be bad if when things got tough we were so hungry we had no energy, and well... She is claiming that this change of heart was due to magic. In short, while it might be extremely difficult, you must explain the reason for Kirie's change of heart. What are you saying? You're talking about the inside of Kirie-san's head, right? Can I also summon Kirie-san's ghost and question her? Bito? Can't you call Kirie-san here or something? She cannot. That is a move permitted only to the witch side. Sorry. Fuck. She was probably, thinking of us kids and, on the whole, thought that food was necessary and... You must present your claim through objective means. You'll need concrete proof that Kirie changed her mind and decided that food really was necessary for some specific reason. For example, if someone heard her say that, or if it was written down somewhere. Too bad. The reason she changed her mind was not passed on to anyone, nor was it written down. Therefore, you can only speculate as to what was inside Kirie's mind. So it's impossible to explain. You don't have a single counter to my move. Isn't it your turn to resign now, Battler-kun? It is possible to hypothesize endlessly as to the reason behind her change of heart. And it is impossible to crush all of those endless possibilities. A detestably spectacular move. If Battler-sama were to have a method of countering, it could probably only be that move. What move is that? Well, I wonder what kind of move it could be. I have the feeling that it was Milady's specialty, but I cannot remember. Quit being stingy and tell me. Beatrice, no answers will be given to those who stop thinking for themselves. Think. Think in your own way. Why don't you resign right now? And I'll corner you even more with Red. Until the last instant before she died, Kirie's behavior pattern of not going to get food equals not going to the mansion was maintained. And yet she took the initiative and headed towards the mansion. She was pushing a cart ready to carry food. Why that contradiction? Because I controlled her with magic. This is proof that my magic exists and that I am a witch. Shut the hell up. Are you saying that she never even changed her mind? The whole time until she died, Kirie-san thought we don't need food and we won't go to the mansion. Then why did she step forward herself and say that they should go to get food and get to the mansion? Are you saying that Kirie-san was being controlled with magic? That's stupid. How should I break through this magic? If only Kirie were here and just told us the reason behind her change of heart. No, I've already been told in Red that she never even changed her mind. What should I do? There's no move that human side can counter with. The more I learn about this game, the more advantageous the rules seem for the witch, right? Even if I lose in a lot of areas, if I can win in just one, that alone can display the existence of a witch. In other words, Battler-kun has no way of denying witches other than a complete victory. How truly funny that even though you thought you could corner me and call me Ava, it's all been spun around by nothing more than the inside of your respected Kirie-san's head, right? Just do it. Resign. If only you just accept it. If only you just lose. Damn it. It's impossible for a human to prove. I can't do anything but guess at what the dead were thinking when they acted. Furthermore, I can't deny the magic based on conjecture alone. To break through, we need objective proof as to why Kiryu-san had to change her heart. But damn it! It's been said and read that no proof exists as to why she changed her mind and wanted food. What should I do? Damn it! Damn it! Badler-sama, is this your resignation? Not going to get food equals not going to the mansion. But then how should I understand Kiryu-san's thoughts, which actually do contradict each other? You can't understand. It's impossible to understand and impossible to interpret. That darkness is all of the witch. Come on, it's useless to think, so quit, okay? You just can't deny witches. After all, I exist right here. I am the Golden Witch. I stole that name from the former witch over there. You can't deny that I'm Beatrice. Damn it! You have no right to use that name. Yet I can't think of a move to deny it. Adler could no longer counter this witch, who was laughing insanely in triumph. He didn't want to give up, but no move appeared. He ground his teeth, making fists with both hands. But even so, he couldn't think of a brilliant counterattack. Adler-sama, your time limit is over, so will you resign? Ugh. The human side has no move in response. It will resign. Wait. There is a counter. What did you say? Huh? What kind of move could possibly exist, predecessor-sama? Won't you tell me what kind of move can deny this magic of Beatrice's? You can't. It's impossible. If the proposition that not going to get food equals not going to the mansion cannot be explained by itself, I'll explain it with the contrapositive. In short, you can also explain it with she still went to the mansion equals she had a goal other than food. This is less my specialty, Hempel's Raven, than it is Badler's specialty, chessboard thinking. If it was impossible for Kiryu to have gone to the mansion with food as a goal, then we can only explain it by saying she had another reason that got her to go outside despite that. In other words, if we can prove that she had such a goal, we can defeat this magic. I see. So she didn't go to the mansion with food as a goal, but she had a different goal. And she said she wanted to go and get food in order to disguise her real goal. True enough, it might be possible to find an explanation that way. But how? Teacher, reconstruct the scene of Kiryu's death. We cannot summon a ghost, but inspecting the corpse ought to be a right allowed to the human side. Yes, there is no problem. I shall reconstruct the scene where Ushumiya Kiryu died. We cannot call Kiryu's ghost here, but by finding out what Kiryu left behind, we might be able to use that as a weapon. Fine, search as much as you want. There's no way you'll learn anything. I just said it and read a short while ago. Kiryu did not leave anything written down. No matter what you find, how could you possibly figure anything out? We may find nothing. But Badler is grinding his teeth fighting of a move to break through you. This is all that I can do. Beatrice landed on her feet in the reconstructed hall, approached Kiryu's corpse and wandered around observing. I am completely clueless when it comes to fighting on the human side. We need to find evidence, right? Then what should I search for? The great lady Beatrice is getting down on her knees and crawling around, and she's even indecently searching a corpse. That look suits you. Say whatever you wish. I cannot do any more than this. I care how not I am despised. However, I cannot throw Badler away as he is fighting for my honor. Even if I must crawl on the ground and search through the dead flesh, I must answer that responsibility. Bathed in the witch's sneers, Beetle searched through Kiryu's corpse. She fished through the pockets, taking what was inside out and laying it on the floor. Laid on the floor was a handkerchief, tissue, a key to her house, the stub of a boat ticket, a lighter, a cigarette butt, and a single 100-yen coin. There was no special suspicious object. Although Beetle was down on all fours and being sneered at, that was all she could find. What's with that seedy-looking trash? How do you think you can brave my magic with that stuff? Worthless. Worthless. Are you a moron? How could you be so lame and right after you cut between us talking so tough? Ah, how pathetic. How embarrassing. If only you just give up and die. The witch fell over laughing, lambasting Bito. Bito hung her head, trying to withstand the shame. Milady, are you finished with your inspection? Indeed. I will not find any more than this. Can you make any counter from this evidence? If not, then the human side must resign. Ugh. Obviously, you don't have any room to argue back. I am a witch. You cannot break through my magic. You're no longer anything but a former witch. A loser who isn't even allowed to take the name of Beatrice anymore. Come on, pile up as much trash and rubbish as you like. Just try to break my magic. You can't, right? You can't, can you? And why is that? It's because I'm a witch. It's because you're just a loser without a name. Something should be here. I won't lose heart. I will not lose heart. No matter how much I am sneered at, Badler is fighting for my honor. So for the sake of his honor, I must not lose heart. As Bito held back tears at the words of humiliation she was being showered with, she tried to find if Kiri was holding something else, and to find something that could save Badler from his plight. Searching earnestly, however nothing more came up. Damn it, please, Ushimiya Kirie, you must save your son from his plight. Please, after death, lend me power for his sake. However, Kirie's body did not answer. It was only natural that a corpse would remain silent. No dead person existed that would answer Bito, who had lost the endless magic. It's pointless, pointless, pointless. Toying with the dead is a privilege only for the witches. For you, who's neither a witch nor even a human, no one exists who will lend a hand. You will be alone for all eternity. You have no witch or human allies, and no one will save you. If that's frustrating, why don't you cry? If you only just apologize, saying, I'm sorry, I'm so useless. Sorry, Badler. I couldn't help you at all. No, that's enough. Thanks, Bito. I won't waste your efforts. I don't need consoling. Just how could you possibly argue back with this pile of rubbish? Just how could you possibly strike back with this rubbish I scraped together while she sneered at me? In front of Bito, who was still crawling on all fours and hitting the pile of objects Kirie left behind with her fist, Badler also crouched. And after patting her on the shoulder in thanks, he moved that hand to the ground, picked up the cigarette butt and held it up over his head. What are you trying to say with that trash? Kirie-san doesn't smoke. But Kirie also had a lighter on her. True, she didn't have an actual box of cigarettes, but at a glance it naturally looked as though Kirie had a smoking habit. Dad smoked, but Kirie didn't. But she did walk around with a lighter, just to light Dad's cigarettes. Ha! So what? If the husband smoked, then even if the wife didn't, it wouldn't be strange for her to be holding a cigarette. Maybe she just picked up the cigarette butt of her husband, who had bad smoking manners. What are you trying to say? What does this have to do with my magic? Nothing at all. I'll say more. This is a different brand of cigarettes than what Dad smokes. Sorry, Bito. Could you look in the pockets of Dad's corpse too? Indeed. You mean this? Checking the brand. The brand is different from the cigarette butt. The cigarette butt Kirie is holding is not of the same brand that Rudolph smokes. And so what? Maybe Kirie is just a good girl who likes things to be clean, so she can leave a fallen cigarette butt alone and picked it up. I wouldn't though. Bito, sorry, but one more time please. Uncle Hideyoshi's pockets. In this family, only Dad and Hideyoshi smoked cigarettes. It's here. Is this it? Bito found a cigarette box in Hideyoshi's pocket, took a single one, and held it up. Checking the brand. We acknowledge that the cigarette butt is of the same brand that Hideyoshi smokes. And so what? How can you break my magic because you found a Hideyoshi cigarette butt in Kirie's pocket? That's right. This cigarette butt is a message from Kirie-san. No, this cigarette butt itself is the reason that Kirie-san left the guest house. Bito, thank you. If you hadn't found this, I would have given up here. Virgilia, reconstruct the situation. The guest house after it came to light that Aunt Rosa and Maria had been killed on the second twilight. Understood. Reconstructing now. After Rosa and Maria's deaths, the remaining survivors rechecked all the doors and windows in the mansion. They constructed a barricade. They reconfirmed that their defenses were solid. There's nothing suspicious about that at all. What are you trying to say? Why are you bringing up the second twilight when we're talking about the fourth and after? Dad carried a portable cigarette butt holder with him. I'm finally starting to see why Kiryu-san went out of her way to put a cigarette butt in her own pocket. It was because that cigarette butt meant something. That cigarette butt was a message left by Kiryu-san for us. Then let's hear it. How do you plan to deny me with that single cigarette butt? As we've heard, after the second twilight, an inspection was done on all the rooms in the guest house. At that time, Kiryu-san found something that shouldn't exist, in a place where it shouldn't be. Something that shouldn't exist. What do you mean by that? It's this cigarette butt. This was set in the ashtray of the guest room that Uncle Hideyoshi was in. What? What's wrong with there being a cigarette butt in an ashtray? Are you sure there isn't something wrong with your head? Aunt Ava hated smoking. There's no way there'd be a cigarette butt there while Aunt Ava was sick and sleeping. However, there was a cigarette butt in the ashtray. When she saw that, Kiryu-san noticed immediately. Uncle Hideyoshi was lying. She realized that Aunt Ava hadn't really been sleeping, and that she'd snuck out of the room. Repeat it. This cigarette butt was crushed out in the ashtray of the room where Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi were resting. I refuse! I finally got it. Thank you, Bito. Was I of some use? Yeah, you were. Tear it. We'll tear that mask off the fake witch. From that cigarette butt, Kiryu realized that Hideyoshi was creating an alibi for Ava's sake. Hideyoshi had been tasked with watching over the room to create an alibi, and during that time he was unable to withstand the tension and smoked. Then Kiryu had confessed that to Rudolph. She confessed that there was a good chance Ava was the culprit, and Hideyoshi was an accomplice. Next, Kiryu-san proposed that they go to get food. She then asked Uncle Hideyoshi to lend a hand. This could only mean one thing. Kiryu-san planned to isolate Uncle Hideyoshi and question him about the truth. Your Hempel's Raven is valid. Unless the witch side counters this move, the existence of the magic that supposedly controlled Kiryu has been denied. What did you say? I deny it anyway, I deny it. It wasn't me, no. It wasn't Ushimi or Ava. Ava was sleeping in her room. Then try saying it. Yeah, you can't say it. You can't say it this time either. Repeat it. At that time, Ushimi and Ava did not take a step outside her room. What the hell is that? I'm the one who was attacking, right? Why am I the one being attacked now? When did offense and defense get reversed? I'm the one questioning you, right? The witch, me, so why? Again, repeat it. Ushimi and Ava did not leave the room. There's no way you can say it. It's checkmate. Does the witch side have a move in response? There cannot be one. There is no truth that can be accepted from a false witch dressed up with truths and falsehoods. You aren't qualified to call yourself a real witch. You aren't the Golden Witch. You're a human. Ushimi and Ava. Yeah! The witch howled. Her entire body was burned with the tremendous heat that denied her own magic and existence, and she let out a howl like a dragon. Her body flickered repeatedly, flashing as though Ava's figure and the witch's figure overlapped. Ava was Ava all along. However, that yell was sucked into the flicker, making it return to the original form of the cruel witch. Sure. If you want to call me Ushimi Ava, then go ahead and do that. That's right. I actually can't repulse all moves related to Ushimi Ava being the culprit. I may have been dragged down from the position of Golden Witch, and you might call me Ushimi Ava now. But you know what? That by itself doesn't mean that witches and magic have been denied. Ava about to drop some mad facts in red. I'll teach you starting now. I'll teach you that I am not Ushimi Ava, nor a human, but a real witch. Take a look at this red truth. When the witch clapped her hands, time advanced in the world of the game board. Badler and Ava dashed to the front of the parlor, calling out Jessica's name. They were searching for Jessica because they had gone to the servant room, found Nanjo's corpse, and didn't know where Jessica was. So what's your point? What are you trying to say? You couldn't be. Oh no. Bito went pale. In other words, the move the evil witch was about to make was bad enough to make even Bito go pale. This time, I'll give you a fatal move that you won't be able to talk yourself out of. No, I'll make this move against all humans who support you. Listen carefully to my move. Stop it! That move is... Bito, stay back. I'll take it. Come on, you fake witch. After Jessica was injured, Ava was constantly under Badler's supervision. Badler is neither the culprit nor an accomplice. By this, we can establish a perfect alibi for Ava. What? I'll seal you, and humans as well, in a red barrier that most certainly cannot be escaped from. Farewell, lowly humans. Sleep for all eternity in an absolute closed room of magic with no exits. Come on, listen carefully. Listen to the red truth. Yeah, oh no, this song again. I like how you can start to recognize what times each of these songs plays at. Like, this song is so cheerful sounding, but you know what it's associated with. There are no more than 18 humans on this island. Throw away your foolish thoughts of mysterious people hiding and committing crimes. If I say it that way, you might also suspect animal culprits. I couldn't stand to hear such irrational theory about how an orangutan trained to commit murder wouldn't count as a human. So I'll change it like this. No life forms other than humans have any connection to this game. That's how it is. Next, I'll explain the situation of all 18 people who exist on this island. Kinzo is dead. Kraus is dead. Natsui is dead. Hideyoshi is dead. George is dead. Rudolph is dead. Kyrie is dead. Rosa is dead. Maria is dead. Genji is dead. Shannon is dead. Kanon is dead. Goda is dead. Kumasawa is dead. Nanjo is dead. Those 15 are all dead. And Badler is alive. Ava is alive. Jessica is alive. That's everyone. All 18 of them. Which means that when the last victim, Nanjo, died, only 3 people, Badler, Ava, and Jessica, were alive, right? What did you say? Damn it, you don't mean... Ava was with you the whole time, so committing a crime was impossible for her. Of course, Badler-kun isn't the culprit. He wasn't forging an alibi for her, and he took the possibility that she was the culprit into account, watching over her actions carefully. No chance existed for her to do anything suspicious. In short, at the time of the crime, only Nanjo and Jessica were in the servant room. And I know what you're thinking. Your next move will be this, right? There's also a chance that Jessica's the culprit. But too bad I'll slice up in red before you try. Ushimiya Jessica has not committed murder. She was not involved with Nanjo's murder. Her eyes were completely covered. It'd be impossible for her to carry out a murder like that. And here's a bonus. Neither Ava nor Badler killed Nanjo, nor were they involved. Wait a second. That doesn't make sense. There were only 3 humans and then a murder occurs, and none of those 3 were involved? That's insane. I'll state it clearly. The culprit who killed Nanjo was neither Badler, nor Ava, nor Jessica. In other words, it wasn't one of the survivors. Get it? No, that's right. What about multiple personalities? Just like how you were originally another personality of Aunt Ava's. Let's say Jessica had another witch-like personality, which took the name of someone other than Jessica, and killed Dr. Nanjo. Moron. I've already said it in red. Jessica's eyes were completely covered, and murder was impossible for her. No matter what kind of personality she was possessed by, murder could not be carried out with her body. I wonder if you'll be satisfied if I say it this way. No actions caused by Jessica's body had any relation to or influence on the murder of Nanjo. This also applies to Badler and Ava. In other words, no matter how much you try to struggle and interpret it, Neither Jessica, nor Battler, nor Ava is the culprit who killed Nanjo. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, everyone else is definitely dead, right? Then all that's left is Dr. Nanjo's suicide theory, right? In the trap theory, the culprit was already dead, but a trap they had prepared went off. Nanjo's death was a homicide. Of course, it was with a direct method of murder, not a trap. A weapon was readied, and he was killed with it from point-blank range in front of him. The culprit appeared openly before Nanjo's eyes, and as they both looked at each other's faces, the culprit killed him. But wait! There are only 3 survivors. You said in red that everyone else is dead. You basically confirmed the life or death status of all 18 people. Furthermore, the existence of a 19th person has already been denied in red. In other words, no one can exist except the 3 survivors. And yet a 4th person other than those 3 appeared before Dr. Nanjo. How could a person other than us appear and murder Dr. Nanjo when no 19th person exists? Insane. You're lying. You're lying with the red. The red only tells the truth. Isn't doubting that the same as betraying the honor of the witch who's behind you, shriveling up in fear of me and hiding behind your back? Damn it. Right now, I'll state it clearly. The one who appeared in front of Nanjo was me. A witch. The golden witch who can't be explained away with 18 humans. Virgilia, Ronov, isn't there a contradiction in this situation? Is she really telling the truth in red? Yes, her red truth is valid. What an elaborate and precise cornering. How should I make a move against her? Virgilia, aren't there any more moves? I cannot think of anything. And you, Ronov. My apologies. However, in these last 1,000 years, I've never seen such an elaborately beautiful game board layout. I hate to admit it, but it's beautiful. What a beautiful checkmate made in red. The witch's teacher and the demon butler were both stunned, and an expression of ecstasy rose to their faces. Forget surrendering. They were impressed at this perfect checkmate, which simply had to be admired. When people accept defeat from the bottom of their hearts, it gives rise to neither regrets nor humiliation. Nothing is born except feelings of respect. I no longer knew what was what anymore. There was absolutely no weak points in her red. She had said in red that all 15 people had died. She had said in red that no people existed other than the 18. In other words, no more than 3 people. Me, Jessica, and Aunt Ava existed. And yet, though none of those 3 people were the culprit, Dr. Nanjo was killed. And without a doubt, Dr. Nanjo's death was a homicide, and he was murdered by that person openly from in front of him. And she's saying that that person is a witch. The culprit who killed Nanjo was not an animal or anything of the sort. That has already been dealt with in red, right? Everything other than humans has been completely removed from consideration. Even things like robots don't work. Absolutely no factors other than humans participate in this game board. Therefore, I can also say this. The one who killed Nanjo was definitely a human. A human with their feet on the ground held up a weapon and killed with it. Right before his eyes. However, the human may have been able to use magic. In other words, it was a witch. In other words, it was me, the golden witch Beatrice. You think it might have been a person not on the island? Okay, interesting theory. Yeah, get your minds thinking. This is a very interesting puzzle. It's a big crux of what makes Umineko, really. Even as Battler ground his teeth, his knees hit the floor with a thunk. His soul still refused to surrender. However, his knees had already started to accept surrender. Yeah. Oh, did you kneel? That's right, you're already starting to understand. The Golden Witch does exist. And that Golden Witch Beatrice is me. Come on, praise me. Now praise the resurrection of a true witch. Now praise the resurrection of the Golden Witch Beatrice. On the 9th twilight the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. Damn it. I don't understand. After being so thoroughly immobilized by the red, I don't have a clue anymore. Battler, don't lose heart. You and I promised that we would fight each other again, right? Will you surrender here? Will you disappear in a place like this before fighting with me again? I don't want to break that promise. However, I can't think of any move to deny her. In the first place, this isn't even a puzzle. Nothing exists outside the suspects, and all the suspects are innocent. I was told that they were innocent in red, right? And also that there was a real homicide, and that the culprit was human, and they did appear before Dr. Nandra's eyes and kill him. I give up. There's nothing I could do. Please, Battler, don't give up. Don't lose heart. If you stop thinking, it automatically becomes your loss. I'm begging you, don't lose heart. I'm also cheering you on, so don't lose. I can't think of anything anymore. I find myself thinking she's gotta be a witch, who must have done it with magic, which makes all thinking pointless. It's useless. My head hurts, and my brain's tired. I'm starting to think that thinking's pointless, so I should just stop. Battler, listen. In a game of chess, both sides do all they can to make the other lose, so a single game takes a long period of time. However, if one side throws away victory from the beginning and makes moves harmful to themselves, the game can end in the blink of an eye. That is called a fool's mate. A fool's mate is, simply put, a strange way of playing chess, in which the faceted methods of losing are considered. Opening the area in front of your own king and inviting the opponent's queen in. Even though the average game time in chess is several hours, a game can be resolved in a scant 4 moves. Hey Aru, welcome to the stream! Thanks for stopping by. In other words, if both sides try to win in a fight, they are compelled to take a painfully long period of time. But if one side decides to lose, the game can be ended far too easily at any time. When the human side stops thinking, it hands the problem before its eyes over to the witch. And even an apple falling from a tree can be immediately resolved as a work of magic. It is the same for the witch's side. Witches use the red truth. By using that, they can explain the true form of magic with humans, and immediately lose. You don't have to tell me that. You're telling me to not stop thinking, right? However, how should I counterattack that person's perfect bright red move? For me, for humans, it's no longer possible. Is it impossible? Is it really impossible for you, Battler? Please, don't lose heart. Sorry, I've reached my limit. Battler scratched at the floor, crying heavily. Bita watched with that distressed face. Then she stood up and spoke to the witch. I will make a move as a counter to yours. Huh? I wonder just how you plan to cut up this perfect checkmate. How can this checkmate, one totally impossible for humans to break, be defeated by the likes of you? Beatrice, you don't mean to... Indeed. If a human cannot make a move, I will assault you with a move I can use precisely because I am a witch. A move you can use because you're a witch. What are you planning to do? I will use the red to deny witches. Beatrice, milady! The teacher and the butler were both startled. I also immediately understood what it meant. To use the red that only witches could use. To use the red to deny witches. It was like using her own sword to slit her own throat. What? Hey, what are you saying? Deny witches with red? Quit talking like an idiot. If you do that, you won't get away. You won't get away unscathed either. You are not a witch, and I am not a witch either. The road to becoming a true witch is difficult, and I have much, much further to go. Very well then. Right here, right now, there has never been any witches in the first place. I will strip this deception away myself. Aren't both of us real obvious witches? Being able to use red is itself proof of witches. I don't know what the definition of witch is to you, but if you think you alone will be able to get away unscathed, then... How could I make such a mistake? I care not. What did you say? I never did manage to become a witch. I've done nothing more than finally begin walking down the road to becoming a true witch. If what I am right now is a witch, then I'm a false witch, like you, one who's merely drunk on power. Rather than existing in that shabby form, I shall erase this form of mine along with you, without any regrets. Are you insane? Stop it! I still want to be a witch. I hate being human. Witch-sama, please return to your seat. Please receive the human size counter from your seat. What are you doing? Let go of me. Don't let that woman use the red. Make her stop. Let go. As the witch stood from her seat and tried to spring upon Bito, Ronov pressed down on both her shoulders and forcing her back onto her seat. And even after that, he didn't remove his hands from those shoulders. Denying witches was the same thing as denying magic. That included demons such as Ronov. However, instead of running away, Ronov chose to act as the facilitator for the game, and to carry out that duty for his master's sake. Beatrice, you have no regrets, right? That's my line. Sorry, teacher. Even though you taught me so much about fun magic, and magic that brings happiness, I wasn't able to use it well at all. So I'll study from square one, and start over again. I am truly sorry that you had to suffer for your stupid disciple's misconduct. I had a good disciple in the very end. Go, do what you believe in. I don't have a clue what you guys are talking about. But I do understand one thing, and I can say this. Bito, I don't know what you're trying to do, but stop trying to do it. You have no moves. But I have one. If we let that move get away, she will be revived as a witch, in the truest sense, and this time she will control this whole island. All nightmares will be hers to do as she pleases, and this island will fall into the deepest hell of the evil witch's repeating delusions for all eternity. Can you permit that? Don't you care if your dear relatives are toyed with for all eternity in that witch's nightmare? Still, you shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself. This is a game between me and her. You shouldn't have to make your move and sacrifice yourself. I'll think of something. I'll surely think of a miraculous move. So don't rush into it. Ugh, damn it! I'll definitely think of one, so don't rush into it! This game is cruel. The time limit for your consideration has already run out. I am now the only one who can do it. Calm yourself, Battler. I'll defeat her. I'll defeat that cruel witch with my own hands. Wait, Bito! Stop it! Quit it! There's absolutely no need for you to sacrifice yourself. Weren't you fighting to deny me? What a strange person. Let that child do as she likes, and please watch her until the end. But... Battler, there's only one thing I ask. Would you cover your ears? My ears? Why? Starting now, I will deny witches in red. I will slice up the game board that she has laid out with her red. By doing that, I will probably lose my form as a witch as well. If you also hear the red truth I speak, you will understand my true form. If you alone cover your ears, that truth will not change at all. However, even so, I want you alone to cover your ears. I at least want to be a witch, in your eyes. Please. Beatrice-sama, there are no problems on the witch side. Please, your move. Let go! I won't let you get away with this either, okay? She's insane! Do you plan on dying and taking us with you? Stop it! Don't deny it! Stop it! How unsightly for a golden witch. Okay, are you ready? I will remove your check in Battler's stead. What happened on the chessboard, where 15 died and only 3 remained? Starting now, I will expose it in red. With that red truth, I will pierce and kill both fake witches. Bito turned around and smiled at Battler. Most likely, no one would believe that the witch, who had gone to the limits of cruelty, would try to leave a smile as the last expression she showed Battler. And that smile signified her last wish, that she wanted him to cover his ears. Denying witches in red was the same as knowing her shabby form. Battler put both of his hands against his ears. To protect her final bit of honor as a witch, he put his hands against his ears, rejecting the truth. And he howled, so that not even a bit of what she was saying would slip into his ears. After that was a world where Battler could hear nothing. Bito was saying something in red. Even the evil witch covered her ears at those bitter contents. That was the red truth. Words of power. Words denied her own existence. Unique words that only witches could use, which denied witches. Bito spoke. With the red truth, she cut up the bright red game board the witch had released. She explained difficult problems that could not be solved by humans, with moves that could only be solved by witches, and began cornering the witch. The truth that Badler was not permitted to hear. If Badler had broken his promise and sneakily eavesdropped, in an instant Badler would probably have been able to become the victor in his game with Bito. He would probably have understood all the riddles on the island, all the magic and tricks, closed rooms, spells, curses, legends, and this entire tale of anger and sadness. However, Badler would only learn what that was when he reached the truth by himself. Yes, from the beginning, Beatrice had wished that Badler would reach that truth by himself. It was something one shouldn't reach by being told it. It was a truth that Badler would have to drag himself to by his own power. A brilliant light gathered with Bito and the evil witch at the center and grew gradually stronger. It was the power of truth. Its heat and brilliance like the sun, shone on all the falsehoods that hid in the darkness, trying to deceive and burnt them to nothing. Ugh! Why? Why can you die? Why can you throw away your life when you have such incredible power? You who hold the power to control gold, magic, and everything at will. Why can you be so readily throwing that away? Learn that even with a mountain of gold, even with magic to split the sea, there are some things you can never obtain. Come, show yourself. Show your true form, Ushime Eva. Right? This really feels like it should be the ending, right? How could there possibly be 5 extra episodes? I guess we'll just have to see. When the sun exploded and blew everything away, Ava could be seen there holding a gun. You're the culprit, Aunt Ava! Took you long enough to notice, Badler-kun. Without any hesitation or mercy, Ava raised her gun and pulled the trigger. As an explosive sound rang out, Badler's heart was shot through and he fell to the floor. After going into convulsions for a short time, with blood dripping from his mouth, Badler died. But in his last moments, he realized without a doubt that she was a murderer. And not just for killing him. There have been many murders, and I don't have a clue how they were carried out. However, while my ears were covered, Bito exposed all of them with red, blasting away all magic. In other words, even though I didn't understand it, was that nothing more or less the proof that magic can all be explained with humans. Bito made me cover my ears, so I myself don't know the whole truth. However, now that it's been denied in red, I can see one fact, which is extremely unfair for us, that it is possible to deny all magic. So in other words, no, I must not think of that. If I do, then the time I spent covered my ears would be made pointless. If I'm going to regret, I can only regret my own actions. If at that time I thought of some move to spin things around and counter the witch's final move, there would have been no need for Bito to sacrifice herself. It was my own worthlessness that brought about this conclusion. Even though it was a pitch-black world where nothing could be seen, for some reason I felt Bito's presence right next to me. So I tried calling out to her. You can exchange words with someone whether they're human or a witch. So even in a world where witches had been denied, I should be allowed to talk to her. Bito. Badler, is it? It is done. I did it. Yeah. I didn't hear it. But I watched you until the very end. I definitely saw you boldly stand up to that evil witch. With this, I am no longer a witch. But I will definitely become a witch again. And then, I will make it so that I could be called the Golden Witch again. And once again, return. So that I could be accepted as your opponent. No. You were a witch. Huh? I saw it. when you took that evil witch and blew her away with that awesome magic, exposing her true form. I saw it with my own eyes. That wasn't magic. But the red, no, it was magic. You were definitely the Golden Witch. Even if you deny it yourself, I'll acknowledge it. You are definitely the Golden Witch. When Battler said those words, in a world that had been dark, there was suddenly a single grain. A small grain of gold, like a wheat seed, shone brightly. And even though it was small, it had a strong gold-colored sparkle. Then, it shone on the two of them, sitting with their backs together, so they each became aware of their own form. They did not exist only as consciousness. They became aware that they had bodies, and definitely existed. No, perhaps we should say that they each had been given an existence called a body. When Battler looked at his own form, he wasn't that surprised. When Bito looked at her own form, she was a little startled. From Battler's perspective, she looked just like normal. But for a short while, she was surprised by that form. What is going on? The sparkle from that grain of light is slowly getting stronger. That grain of wheat was no longer simply gold-colored, but was like the light of the sun. Then it softly began to approach Bito's chest. When that grain of the sun was sucked inside her chest, the world was wrapped in a deep blue sky, and then a deep blue ocean was spread out below them. An island rose up. Trees sprouted and created a forest. Walls surrounded us, and the ceiling swallowed us. And was adorned with more and more things. Made to be like that hall in the Ushimiya mansion. Beatrice isekai'd? Who knows? In the middle of the fantastical hall, where many gold butterflies beat their wings, many tables were set up with white tablecloths like it was a party, and beautiful cooking and fruits were set out. And over there was a great many shapes. It was everyone talking together and smiling. Everyone. There was Dad, and Kirie-san, Uncle Kraus, Aunt Natsui, and Aunt Rosa, and of course, even Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi. George Aniki, Jessica, Maria. Wait, even Shannon-chan, Kanon-kun, Goda-san, and Kumasawa-san are here. Everyone was at the party, clapping their hands and celebrating our return. Wait, where's Genji and Kinzo? Why? Even though everyone was dead. Why are they alive? In the Golden Land, the souls of all the dead can be revived. Welcome back, Beatrice. And welcome, Battler-kun. Welcome to the Golden Land. I made it. To the doors of the Golden Land. Yes, milady, you have finally managed to invite everyone here. Welcome, Battler-sama, to the Golden Land. There he is. Battler. So, you have finally made it this far. Grandfather? Where in the world am I? My blood, which is incompatible with magic, runs most deeply in your veins. Therefore, you are the only one who could not reach the Golden Land, and Beatrice has been searching for you this whole time. She tried everything to bring you here. What did you say? Battler-sama, if you would take your seat, tonight's dinner is my very best work. If you would please relish it. You should be honored. Normally, I would have eaten all of it, but left you some of it out of gratitude. The 7 steak nanchans. In the Golden Land, all those with minds are equal. Here, there's no distinction between us furniture, humans, and witches. Battler-sama, we are waiting for you. Welcome to the Golden Land. Shannon-chan, George Aniki. I still feel like this might be a dream. We should have died. But I'm alive, and everyone's here and happy. I can't believe it. That's right. This place must be a dream world. So it must be a dream that George is acting so friendly with a maid girl. Could you give it a rest, Ava? For now, you gotta stay quiet and bless the two young'uns. The Golden Land is a city of bliss. We should never quarrel here. Here, any people are free to love each other. No one needs to hesitate over it. Jessica-chan, Kanen-kun, you look wonderful. I'm jealous. Hey, Badler. I'm a little, Badler-sama, welcome. And welcome home. Jessica was probably embarrassed because she was holding hands with Kanen-kun. Kanen-kun wanted to act humbly like a servant and bow, but since neither of them could let go of the other's hand, he couldn't do it so well, and the whole scene looked fairly comical. Aw, they're so cute. With a servant child! You can't! Our Jessica cannot do such a thing! It's hardly a big deal, correct? Let her at least choose the person she likes. She can't! She can't! Ah, Jessica! You can't either, George! As Aunt Natsui and Aunt Ava hugged each other, they cried tears of regret for their adorable children. Even though they had always been at odds, it was a very bizarre scene. It isn't really a problem, right? It doesn't matter who likes who. That's right. It's proof that a parent's too attached to their child. Badler, no matter what kind of woman you bring home, I'll give her a warm welcome, okay? Don't you dare introduce her to this man, okay? He'll get his hands on her immediately. They'll run off together right away. Badler, you finally came here. Maria, from the very beginning, you knew we'd be coming here. That's why I wasn't scared at all. Everyone was being a coward and trembling. It was funny. What the hell? Even though I thought you were the most screwed up, you actually knew the truth from the beginning. How rude. I simply cannot forgive you for speaking of Lady Maria in that way. Formulating firing curve. Attack preparations ready. Lady Maria, we can attack at any time. Ow! Be quiet. You are in the presence of Beatrice-sama. Come now, no need to be so stiff. Let's be considerate of their desire to joke around and have fun. More importantly, why don't we begin preparing for the toast? Yes, preparations for my excellent mackerel cooking are complete. I can serve it at any time. Hey, you people. Work a little more like furniture. No! I'm gonna stuff myself some more. Ah. Come on, let's work. Don't keep the guests waiting. Let's work studiously and attend to them. Don't let the guests do anything. Make them lazy, make them slothful, fatten them like pigs. Beatrice, Badler-kun, this way. Grandfather and Virgilia were standing on the landing at the top of the staircase, beckoning to us. Vito and I turned our heads to see what was going on, and then climbed the stairs together. From the hall, it looked like a very high stage. A small table had been set up there, as well as a piece of parchment and an old-fashioned quill pen. I saw that strange magical characters in Japanese were written side by side, and below it, many names were written. There were 17 of them. Grandfather was the first, and everyone's names had been signed all over it. The people who arrived at the Golden Land probably signed this one after another. Badler, now that you are here, everyone is gathered. Listen carefully. The Golden Land is not a world supported by the power of magic alone. The cooperation and approval of all humans who receive happiness here is required. For that sake, we must gather the signatures of everyone here. Last time, the door to the Golden Land was finally opened, but you refused to sign. Although you probably don't remember it. Because you refused to sign, this world was once again sealed in darkness. Just hearing it like that, it kinda sounds like I'm the only stubborn one, and I've been a bother to everyone in various ways. That's because your stubbornness is the real deal. It seems you receive more than just blood from Kinzo. Mito laughed amiably. I should have felt like she was making fun of me, but without thinking I went along with her, laughing and smiling. Magic, it's a miracle. Miracles cannot be made complete unless everyone believes. And when you believed in the end, this miracle, the Golden Land was completed. It looks like I've been a real pain. So, what should I do? First, sign here. Then, Beatrice, you sign here. Quill pens are pretty hard to use, huh? Whoa, it shot! You klutz. Shooting ink is a bad omen. Can't you at least write your name quickly? Your pen's wriggling all over the place like a worm. You should talk. Don't write it in katakana. Beatrice is a stylish name, so write it in cursive. You're making the quill in your name cry. Shut up. In school, didn't they tell you not to use cursive on tests? Hey, this is a solemn ceremony. Be silent. Very well. We have gathered the 2 signatures, as well as the form for the covenant. Both of you, your oath, please. We'll start with Beatrice. Put your hand on the covenant and take the oath. As a good witch, Beatrice swears to continue her studies, from this point forth to bring happiness to the people. Say it. Indeed. It's a little embarrassing. As a good witch, Beatrice swears to continue her studies, from this point forth to bring happiness to the people. Will that do? Acceptable. Badler is next. In the same way, Badler-kun, put your hand on the covenant and take the oath. As a member of the Golden Land, Ushimiya Badler swears to serve for the sake of his own happiness and that of his neighbor. As a member of the Golden Land, Ushimiya Badler swears to serve for the sake of his own happiness and that of his neighbor. I'm embarrassed too. Listen everyone, here and now we have gathered the oaths of all 18 humans who accept the Golden Land. When Kinzo proclaimed that, everyone applauded at once, praising us. Since I had been the only stubborn one and had just been a pain, I felt a little bad about being the most celebrated one. And with that, in accordance with the ancient rites, we asked Badler-kun, the last to make the oath, to sign the invitation to the Golden Land. This is something that invites the Golden Witch Beatrice to the Golden Land. The Golden Land welcomes the Golden Witch through a consensus of those who have acknowledged it, and becomes complete. Badler, I will read it out loud. Listen carefully. The 18 of us accept Beatrice as the Golden Witch and welcome her to the Golden Land. What's going on with you? You won't be invited unless I send an invitation? That does seem to be the ceremony. It feels stiff even to me. Why don't we end it quickly? I've been so hungry for a while now. Come to think of it, I've only been pecking at canned food and haven't eaten anything good. Let's quickly finish the signing. What's this? I acknowledge you as a witch. Huh? That's pretty simple. Damn you, grandfather, exaggerating it so much. Come on, quickly. Sign, right here. Huh? Quickly. Sign. With slightly weird and uncomfortable smiles, the 2 of them start demanding that I sign. At that time, an incredible sound like that of a glass window breaking reverberated through the hall, and the bustling tumult faded back into complete silence. I dropped the quill pen and turned around, trying to see what had happened. When I did, where did she come from? A human, who clearly hadn't been there a short while ago, was in the very center of the hall, looking up at us. Who's that? A girl? She's probably about the same age as Jessica and me. I didn't know that face. None of the other people here knew that face either. Who are you? Who is this? Where'd you come from? Those without invitations are not needed at my party. Servants, kick her out. As you command. Surround her. The 7 Sisters of Purgatory surrounded her from 7 directions, taking out magic blades that drew purple curves and blocking her. And from out of nowhere, shuffling goat-head servants appeared in great numbers surrounding that girl. On top of that, the Chiesto sisters stood in front of Bito like a wall, readying a golden bowl and pulling back the bowstring. But the girl didn't move at all. On the contrary, she was still staring at us on the landing, as though she didn't mind at all. Who is she looking at? Bito? Grandfather? Could it be me? Yes, the girl was staring straight into my eyes, glaring. Then after our eyes met perfectly, she yelled, "You mustn't sign that! Are you going to accept your own defeat? Don't be tricked by the witch!" Huh? By the witch? Huh? At that time, something incredibly strong lifted me by the nape of my neck. What's going on? After being made to turn around behind me, I saw Virgilia with an eerie smile on her face and the muscular forms of the goat monsters. A goat monster that looked about 2 meters tall was grabbing me with an arm as thick as a log. There is no need to listen to an uninvited guest. Come, offer your signature as well. On this written oath, Ushimi Badler acknowledges the existence of witches. Come on, sign the written oath. Ow, 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 ow. Damn it, let go. As the goat monsters held me down with the power of a vice, they forced me to grab the quill pen. I couldn't even touch the floor with my feet, much less resist. Badler, why are you resisting? Weren't you just about to sign willingly? Don't change your mind now after all that, okay? Didn't you think for an instant that it might be okay to acknowledge witches? You thought that, right? I was... tricked? That's insane. Mito isn't that kind of... Sorry, Badler, I am that kind of person. It's useless now, it looks like sentimental sob stories. Don't suit me! Teacher, I'm counting on you to use all your strength. That was such a plain role to play and I got so bored. I don't know who you are, girl, but I'll beat you to death. Mash you and crush you until threads start trailing, okay? I'll make you regret being born a woman. As Bita waved her gold pipe, the massive chandelier hanging in the hall was electrocuted, and from that a terrible purple thunderbolt fell. It should have been a direct hit on the girl right below it, turning her to ash. However, not a single hair was singed. Huh. So, your sudden appearance here wasn't just a fluke. Tell me, state your name. I don't have any name to give you. More importantly, you idiot. How long are you gonna be tricked? You softy, figure it out already. This is all the witch's trap. Those words were aimed at me. This is all the witch's trap, she says. That can't be. Bito reformed and swore to become a good witch. Bito, all this about traps. It's a lie, right? Please tell me it's a lie. Sorry, Badler. It was pretty fun. Sure, I just did what teacher told me, but look how great it turned out. Apparently, if you start out all hostile and needlessly brutal, then turn incompetent and soft at just the right moment, you can spark a huge bump on your affection meter, right? I've heard villains who start all lovey-dovey and then freak the shit out are all the rage these days, right? Even I've studied a bunch of those manga, anime, and gouge that's been so popular lately, you see. And for you, just as expected, it was cheers please and you're down. Idiots! What a truly simple person. I'll call this the North Wind and the Sun strategy. That's not... Damn you! You bastard! How could you trick me? Yes, that expression suits you the most. That caring expression of yours really doesn't suit me after all. It made my back itch, and I was frantically trying not to let it get to me. Too bad, witches never reform. You take care of the signature, teacher. This uninvited guest is my prey. Come, you can no longer refuse to sign. Come on, look, sign it and offer your body, your mind, and your soul. When Virgilia lifted her chin as a signal, the goat monsters, with an even more vice-like power, forced my arm to approach the parchment. Ow, ow, these guys are trying to make me sign, even if it breaks my arm. Then a bright red light burst open with me at the center, knocking the witches and the goat monsters away. Did that girl save me? But who in the world is that? I don't have a clue. How long do you plan to keep playing in a place like this? Give it a rest. I'm jealous of you. I'm glad you saved me, but that's a pretty cruel way to say it. Sorry, but who are you? Witch of Rokenjima. Give him back. Who would do that, you fool? Battler is my toy. My most favorite toy in the world. I won't get tired of him. I won't throw him away, and I won't hand him over to anyone. Even Battler is enjoying this to the fullest. Together with me, he is having so much fun playing. No matter who you are, I won't let you get in the way. Yeah, it looks like you're having a lot of fun. It makes me so jealous, it ticks me off. Here you are in a place like this, guffawing and having a loud, noisy time with everyone. With all these beautiful witches around to pamper you, you must be having so much fun, you don't even want to go back. Are you talking to me? Wait, you've got the wrong idea. This is a pain for me too. What do you mean fun? You don't know what I've been through. What you've been through? You had fun living with Mom and Daddy, you played around with all the cousins, and you get to play with those wacky witches for all eternity? Don't you recognize the happiness you have? Can't you see how jealous I am of you all? So much that I wish I could join in too. I'm sorry about to turn you down there. I'm satisfied with the toy I have. A rude toy like you is not fitting for my toy box. Yes, I understand. Who would ever play with someone like you? But I will thank you just a little for letting me meet everyone like this. Who are you? You couldn't be. I see, is that it? Yes, I understand. I know who you are. I see. So you are the piece Lady Bern-Castell threw in. How amusing. Why don't I formally invite you to my party? I'll welcome you fully. Along with Battler, I'll play nicely, break you, kill you, crush you, turn you to ash, mix you with bread dough, and bake you until you're fluffy. It's useless, it's all useless. You can't do that. On the Rokonjima of 1986, I'll expose everything that happened to the light of day. I'll show you that before the truth, you're like an icicle scared of the coming spring. Prepare yourself, Golden Witch. Beatrice. Huh? Huh? What do you think, eh? Huh? Huh? I told you episode 3 was my favorite of the first 4. Didn't it play at your heartstrings? You're all crying for Beatrice, siding with her. See, look, look, there's the name. Look, there's the name. Look, there's the name. Look, 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 look. So in case you missed it, because they name-dropped Ange multiple times, if you rewind time all the way back to the very first game, they mentioned it. Battler has a younger sister. She is younger than Maria. I think she's 6 years old. And they had to leave her at home because she was sick. So she didn't come to the island. She did not participate in the family conference. And they mentioned her a few times in this episode too. She's actually Battler's half-sister. Battler was born to Rudolph and Asumu, and Ange was born to Rudolph and Kyrie. So she hasn't appeared yet till now. Yeah, I guess maybe the red hair gene comes from Rudolph, because they both look very similar, eh? Or they just do that artistically to give you the hint that she is, or make it obvious that she is. Yeah, and she has the Ushimiya armband. You tricky, Vergilia. You almost had us there, Vergilia. We thought you were on our side. Yeah, like, it felt really, like, fitting until we got to that last, like, banquet, and then suddenly it looked a little bit suspicious, didn't it? If only Beatrice and Vergilia could hold in their creepy faces until, like, after he signed, right? It did feel like Beatrice being a good guy felt too good to be true, right? Yeah, it felt so climactic an hour ago. I forgot how long these stories are. Oh, look, all of the goats, too. Like, it was only like, what, an hour and a half into the stream and Beatrice is already getting, like, attacked by Ava Beatrice, and that felt like the climax. And then they switched to the game board battle and then it kind of like died down for a little bit, then it picked up again, and then it died down again, and then it picked up again, and then it died down again. Like, it was just like, there's so much going on, there's so much narrative, you almost lose the flow of the climax. But oh yeah, so this one all 17 died, but there was one survivor. In this case, the survivor was Ava. Ava survived because she was the culprit in this one. Yeah, she made you side with her because of how she turned into a good guy, eh? That was a good ending. I like episode 3. Episode 3 it's such a turning point for the series. New features! Yeah, can't trust no witches. Never trust the witches. Okay, so, but like usual, there is an epilogue to episode 3, and the epilogue leads into episode 4. Now, the epilogue, I checked yesterday, because I knew we'd get to it today. I think it's under an hour. So, we're actually going to continue today, and that way I don't have to do a separate stream just for the epilogue. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to cut the video here, and the epilogue's going to go into the next VOD. But if you're watching this on Twitch, we're going to continue, okay? So, let's get going. The ending, or rather the epilogue, of the Banquet of the Golden Witch.